Hey, are you ever going to start this podcast you've been talking about for like forever?
Do you think that anyone will actually want to listen to something like this?
What is your plan for an introduction?
Are you sure you want to talk about these topics? People usually disagree.
3 hours? Are you crazy?
Do you think you're some kind of expert or something?
Are you planning to have an intro song?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
Do you even know how to make a podcast?
Are you just doing this because you like to argue with people?
Don't let this be just one more thing that you talk about doing, but never actually do.
Wouldn't it be better to do just one episode for each topic?
Stop trying to change people's opinions. Just live your own life.
Dude, people are never going to agree. Just let it go.
Is this going to be a long intro? Because if it is, I'm bored already.
Hello there. Well, today, very much to your excitement, I'm sure, I'm back to share another fantastic conversation with you. But before that, and even more to your excitement, I am back with another rant, and I am sure that it's something we all have dealt with. I'm sure that I am preaching to the choir this time around. What is the deal with all the automated calls we have now? Why is it so stinking hard to just talk to a real-life person? Even at a normal business, this seems to be impossible. Press 1 for this, press 2 for this, but never a press 47 to talk to an actual living, breathing, and thinking person. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who has this frustration. I understand the reason why businesses are doing this. In theory, it should save the real-life people the time of figuring out specifically what the caller is needing. But it never works that way, does it? It will either not even have what you need listed in the huge list of options, or it will have it, but when you press that button, it will take you to a place you didn't want to go. And some of the newer ones don't even use the press a number system. It will just ask you to say the word. Apparently, this is for those too dumb to use the 12-key number pad on the phone. So we say the word, then this automated computer brain thingy is supposed to think and come up with your solution. Of course, the machine never actually hears you properly, and it doesn't register you saying the word that it's telling you to say, and most importantly, none of these have an option for real person either. But that doesn't stop me, because I still find myself screaming, "Real person! Real person! Real person!" Yet nothing happens. Why? Because I am yelling at a mindless, soulless, emotionless machine. But does this knowledge stop me from yelling at it? Of course not. Somewhere deep in my mind, I must actually believe that this is accomplishing something. I'm sure there is someone in there listening to me too, probably laughing hysterically when they hear me request to talk to a real person. "Hey John, listen to this idiot yell and scream at a machine, telling it that he wants to speak to a real person. What a moron. Maybe we should send him around to different automated responses that have nothing to do with the word he is saying." Don't get me wrong, I think that technology has some wonderful advantages. But why do we see talking with a person as a bad thing that needs to be fixed? Why is it wrong for us to exchange words with other people? Then think about those words, formulate a real and genuine response, and speak it back to the person we are talking with. I say we start a petition to end this foolishness. We should have bumper stickers and t-shirts made that say, "No more automated phone answerers," and "We demand to talk to real people." Because, as we all know, every single revolution was won by slogans on t-shirts and bumper stickers. This has just got to stop. If you are with me, send me an email at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. If you aren't with me, and you support the fascist mob who continues to prevent us from speaking with real-life humans, also send me an email at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me so I can pray for your soul. Now, on to the episode. My guest today is Danny McFarland. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that I talked with the youngest cousin on my dad's side. Danny, however, is the oldest cousin on my mom's side. If you listened to last week's episode, you also know that my cousin Lena is someone that I didn't know hardly at all before we sat down to record our episode. However, Danny is someone that I know very, very well, and he also knows me very, very well. In fact, he probably knows me better than anyone on the planet, with the exception of my wife. And hey babe, if you're listening, we should have you do an episode at some point. What do you think? Anyway, as always, when I do an episode with someone that I know well, it can be difficult to find new things to talk about. But I think we did a pretty good job here. Topics included today are Survivor, the band, not the TV show, Weird Al, Journey, edited versions of songs, church music, worship postures, speaking in tongues, TobyMac, Michael Buble, yes, that's the way I pronounce it, Ren, the rapper, not Stimpy's friend, reaction videos, 21 Pilots, NF, Beastie Boys, For King and Country, Agendas, Racism, Entitlement, Sheltering Our Children, homeschooling, changing standards, the death of a hero, prayer, and God's will. Also, just to let you know, we had some technical difficulties in the first few minutes as we were attempting to figure out his microphone. This was the first remote podcast recording I did, and since you all know how techie I am not, it took us a little bit to figure it out. I decided to leave that whole part in because I think it sounds really cool when you can hear the difference before and after we get the microphone fixed. The bad quality only lasts for a few minutes, I promise. Enjoy the conversation. All right, well, let's dive into music.
All right.
This is going to be interesting because you're, obviously you're one of the closest people to me in the world. So, I mean, we've grown up together. I've known you for a million years. There's not a whole lot I don't know about you. So we're just going to, and not a whole lot you don't know about me. So.
Well, it's funny. I thought about the music one because that was an interesting one, but it's like we grew up together. And so, like we literally listened to the same music until later in high school when you went into like ska and stuff like that, where you went out a little more where it wasn't quite there yet.
Right.
I think that's did you do that more when you like left to San Diego? Was that more of the time frame?
No, I think I was already, I got into punk and ska probably when I was about 16 or 17. And then I was how old was I when I moved to San Diego? 18, 19?
It was early.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that's probably when you started hearing a lot of that.
Well, when I would come down on trips, that's when I got introduced to a lot of it. So. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, music's an interesting. I throw one at you every once in a while. Like we talked about Nickelback the other day. I think I really like that group.
Who?
Nickelback.
Oh, Nickelback, the band everybody loves to hate.
Yeah. They're actually going to be in concert here in a few months.
Yeah, you going to go see them?
No.
You're embarrassed. You're too ashamed.
I don't know. For me, I don't know. I don't know. I guess there was a while where it felt weird going to a concert as you got older.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like it was a younger thing. But
so I'm going to stop you real quick, dude. So there's a certain position you get in where you sound great. And then there's a certain position you get in where you sound like a robot. Like it's like,
I'm not moving at all, am I?
I don't know, dude. I don't know what it is. It just,
okay.
Do I sound good? Do I sound like totally good and no like aftershock or anything?
There's a little bit at the end of your voice, like a little crackle.
Okay. Like yours sounds like this is what's happening while you're talking.
Oh, it's that bad? Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. It almost sounds like somebody's hitting a bell or something next to your voice while you're talking.
There's not a way I'm not using to do this.
There could be a way you're still using your laptop one.
Okay, the webcam is using that one. Do I go to mic and then I click on?
Click on the little arrow.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. So mic, there it is.
Go. Let's try that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Woo! There it is.
We can learn technology.
Yes. Oh, dude, you sound so much better now.
Hey.
Oh man, that's night and day different right there, man.
I'm a whole man.
You are, dude.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
So now we're good to go. So we're talking about punk rock, where I went my own direction, and you kind of stayed with crappy music that you were listening to, kind of thing.
Yeah. That same crappy music that you grew up on.
Yeah. Well, let's go back. So I usually start with just saying, what's your earliest memory you have of enjoying a song or enjoying an artist or a band?
Okay, so I got that one. So growing up with mom, it was a lot of oldies. So those were. But my first real song that I liked was it was "Eye of the Tiger" by Survivor. And so I think you know the story, but for those who are listening,
just pretend like I don't.
Yeah. So I went out and we used to have a store called Gemco.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I went and bought an 8-track tape of Survivor and yeah, right. I mean,
dude, you're not that old. I never had eight. My parents had 8 tracks. I never had 8 track.
Right. So they had it. So I bought it because that's what was available at the time. But I vividly remember going to the store, almost the aisle I bought it on. Like, I don't know why, out of all my memories in my life, that's one that has stuck in my head. Maybe because it was an 8-track tape. I don't know. But yeah, so that's probably the first music, tape that I ever bought. I don't know if I think I bought it because I was probably a fan of Rocky.
Okay. Yeah.
And, that scene. So that probably is, because it was so, emotional scene.
Right.
That,
right.
That I
was was a Rocky 3, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Was it the one with Apollo?
No, that's the first 2. Well, he's in all of them, but that's the first 2 where Rocky fought Apollo. But the third one is with Mr. T.
Oh, was it? Maybe it was the Mr. T one. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was because the first 2 was the
right running up the stairs. Yeah,
and I think the Survivor song came in as in the third movie. But yeah, that's probably the first time I ever heard that song too. Was because
for sure.
I think your dad. I think the first time I ever even saw Rocky was at your house because your dad used to have that on the TV.
Yeah, Dad was good for replay movies all the time. So
right. Can you name another Survivor song?
Good one. Yeah,
I can't either.
I can't either.
No,
I'm sure I know them, but I can't come up with them. I will say that earlier memories of Journey. Okay. Those are big because we used to hop in the silver Ford truck and throw a Journey tape in there. And
my dad's truck.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock in the morning
for newspapers.
Right.
Yeah.
So those were big classics that I liked.
Yeah.
A lot.
It was probably, I think it was the Escape album. I think right with Don't Stop Believing and Who's Crying Now.
Oh yeah.
All the good. Yeah, that's probably their best album. But okay, so back to Survivor though. So you only know the one song, so you don't really consider yourself a fan of the band, like you don't.
Yeah, no. I guess
a fan of the song. Do you still like the song today?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It's always an emotional, like take you back. Like Ratatouille. Back.
Right. Do you remember the Weird Al version? I think it was called like the theme for Rocky 5 or something, because it was like before Rocky 5 even came out, and it was about when Rocky was old and he owned a deli. It was like fat and weak, what a disgrace.
Oh yeah, no.
I guess the champs got too lazy.
Yeah, I'm sure you've shown it to me over the years because we used to listen to those all the time.
That's funny. But
they're actually, I think they're doing a new movie of him, right?
It already came out.
Oh, it already came out. And that's,
the Harry Potter played him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's good, but I heard it's like a parody, like it's just like his music, I guess. But I guess for the people that are expecting like more of like a drama about
like
his
a
life,
documentary of him.
Yeah. But
okay.
It's like it kind of pokes fun at his life. But I mean, I guess he's not in a bad way. Like he's totally in support of the movie. Like he loved it, and he was all.
Oh, okay, good.
He was involved in the making of it and stuff. But
oh, okay, good.
Yeah, but it's like back when that Brady Bunch movie came out. Back in was it the 90s? I think it was the 90s that Brady Bunch movie came out, and a lot of people that were big fans of the Brady Bunch hated it because it poked fun at the show. It was making fun of the show, and people were like, "Oh, it's just making fun of the show." It's like, well, come on, that show's worthy of making fun of it,
Yeah, when you step back and watch it later, you're like,
right,
pretty funny.
Yeah. No. But anyway, back to Journey. So yes. We can go to Journey. So is that a band that you still like today, or no?
Oh yeah. I introduced it to my oldest, and she became a big fan, and she's actually been to one of their concerts. Not of course the lead singer, but they came up here to Washington, and her and her grandma went and saw them. So big fan of Journey. Huge.
It's cool that you showed it to her because most of the kids her age, they heard of Journey through Glee.
Oh, okay.
Right. Glee is what like made a bunch of old bands newly popular, right? Because that show was so
Right.
big with the younger population. They're like, oh, what's this? What's this? Don't Stop Believing, this new song by this band called Journey.
This new song.
Yeah, exactly. So, go ahead. You got more on Journey, or you got?
No, I was just thinking there's a couple other bands that I like a lot of the old music. So
Right.
I was thinking of one that I like watching. I really enjoy finding like live video of old music.
Like live concerts?
Like live concerts, or like, the dark room, where everybody goes in and it's a small crowd and they're performing and stuff. And I just like seeing how it was back then, and the culture, and I'm a big fan of the Bee Gees. I love them. I've owned a lot of their CDs.
But you weren't a big fan like when they were in the disc, because you were born what, 75?
75, yeah. So that was past me. So
yeah.
Or before me.
Right.
But probably, mom was probably an influence on all that stuff. So
right.
I was into rap, as you know, and we did the whole rap years.
Yeah, something. What happened the other night? We were hanging out, and something came on. Where were we? Oh my gosh, where were we? Oh, we were somewhere, and I remember. Oh, It's Tricky. Oh no, we did when we had backyard movie night the other night.
Oh, Run DMC,
and It's Tricky.
Yeah,
It's Tricky came on in the movie, and I told Thomas and Denise, because they were laughing. I said, "Oh man, somewhere out there is a cassette tape, with me and Danny rapping this song."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, we got to find it." I said, "Well, if you find it, let me know, because I haven't seen it in a million years."
Because they're thinking right off the bat there, hey, this is someone we could laugh at. Yeah,
well, me too. I was on there too.
No, I know.
Yeah. So we used to say, because I was Ryan, so I was Run, and you were Danny McFarland, so you were DMC.
DMC, which fits.
Yeah, it was perfect.
It was.
Yeah, but for some reason we never made it big. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I think it was the Run part that had the issue.
Oh man.
No, definitely. If any of it was you lead most of it, because I couldn't memorize lines to save me. I just couldn't. So that was a big difference between me and you growing up. Is like you would memorize and listen to every word in the song, and for me, they all just went over my head. It was all about the beat and how loud can you play it in the car. I didn't really. There were a few songs, but to this day, I still can't. I can't sing a whole song.
Right.
I can't memorize a whole song. So, but like the kids, they all pick it up. No problem, man.
Yeah. Well, I was like that when I was younger. I'm not like that anymore. I always joke around about how I can remember all the words to a song I haven't heard in 30 years. And I know all the words still, but I can't remember a conversation I had with somebody yesterday. You know what I mean? So it's like back then I was able to retain all that well, but now it's like, not so much. It's funny, the other day we were driving somewhere and some guy drove by with a lot of bass.
Yeah.
I think it was Addie. She goes, "Why would anyone want their car to sound like that? I don't understand why." And I said, "Well, Danny had big old speakers in the back of his truck when he was growing up too. He used to bump it all around the place." And
boy, we would do whatever I would do whatever I could to make a system work.
Right. Yeah.
But
so like today,
yes.
Would you say that today you have a specific genre of music that's like your favorite? Like, I understand we all like a little bit of everything, but if there's just one style of music that you're like, yep, that's my favorite.
Well, I've got the faves, which of, which you've shown me, I think both of them now, but I'm a 21 Pilot. I'm an NF fan.
Right.
But as far as like picking one, man, I don't know, alternative rock,
is like your favorite?
I think so, because there's so much diversity and all that there's so much to pick from that I know, like, I mean, I don't know if alternative rock is like, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Aerosmith.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those kind of run the the gamut. I mean, you got Aerosmith started in the 70s.
Right. What about like, oh gosh, I don't know why I want to, Papa Roach.
Oh yeah.
So there's quite a few bands that I really like to sit down and just have them all on the playlist and kind of go.
It's funny because all three of those bands don't really sound much like each other.
They don't. That's kind of why I pointed them out that way. Yeah.
Right.
But
do you have a favorite like era of Red Hot Chili Peppers, or because in the early days they were like kind of funky and they had like and then I
don't know. Is the album called California or
Californication?
Yeah. So
yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good album. I think.
Mm-hmm. So you're more a fan of their later stuff?
I think so. Yeah. I still hear some of their new stuff every once in a while. I'm like, oh, okay. They still, they still sound like them.
Right.
But it's hard with music because the whole language thing is an issue.
What do you mean?
Unless we've
like profanity, you mean?
Yeah, unless you dubbed it all for me, then it's kind of. I have noticed though, like on the internet, like I do a lot of those YouTube things where, I love reaction videos, as you know. But yeah,
I'll pray for you.
Yeah, I know. I'll type in like a song, and then I'll go on since I know the words in it. But then I'll type in edited version. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I can find an edited version on online.
Yeah.
Without
it's different now. Like remember back in the day, they used to have. I say back in the day because I'm so old.
Yes.
They used to have like now you can do like you said, you can find an edited version and it'll just kind of like mute the word. But do you remember like back when we used to listen to like NWA and stuff and Eazy-E and that kind of thing? Like they would literally have a full album that was an edited version, and it was
Correct.
Literally a re-recorded version of the song with totally different lyrics. Like they would literally change the lyrics.
Oh, so I remember having the choice.
Right.
But I don't remember listening to them and going, oh, they put different words in.
Right. Or even later in the 90s, they used to do it with the ones I'm only thinking of this one because the song just came on my playlist on the drive home from work is that the Snoop Dogg, where it was 187 and the real version is an MF and cop.
Oh yeah.
Right. But the clean one was 187 on an undercover cop.
Oh, how funny.
So they literally changed the words. They don't just like bleep out it or
change the meaning a little bit to make it clean.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of the rappers, they used to be that way up through the 90s even. But of course they'll do it a lot of times when it's like if there's a single and they got a video on MTV or something, they'll kind of switch them around. Right. But these days they just kind of bleep it or, and even these days that's only if it's like what they call a really bad word. They leave in most of the minor words.
Right.
But so alternative rock you'd say is more your favorite style. So give me some more give me maybe your top couple bands in that. I know the Chili Peppers are up there for you.
Linkin Park is up there.
Okay.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah. So a lot of these like Papa Roach, Linkin Park, Red Hot Chili Peppers, a lot of these are like kind of the rap rock kind of stuff.
Yeah. I liked Kid Rock too. I don't know if he's way up there on my list, but he was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Whitey Ford was good. Remember him?
Everlast.
Yeah, Everlast.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the CD? Whitey Ford? Is that
Whitey Ford Sings the Blues? Yeah, is the first album, and then
he didn't do much after that.
No, his second album was good too.
Was it? Oh,
Eat It Whitey's it was called.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's one that had Black Jesus and
yeah.
Babylon Feeling.
who's the one group that I thought I showed him to you? It's not Counting. Is it Counting Crows?
Oh, I love Counting Crows' first album. That's in my top 5 best albums of all time.
No, I don't think it's Counting Crows though. I think it's
that you showed to me.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't Counting Crows then.
Okay, so
something
then
else.
It's the one where I'm thinking of like there's another group, Faith No More.
Yeah, we've talked about them before.
Yeah, no, it's Kryptonite. Who sings that one? 3 Doors Down, dude.
Oh, 3 Doors Down.
Yeah, I like them a lot too.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of their stuff. I've heard maybe 3 songs.
Yeah, I think it's the same.
Kryptonite. I like Kryptonite. That's a good song, but
yeah, video's a little weird, but
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Oh, it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's hard because I've never really just dedicated myself to one group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think until later years where I've actually done the research on groups or music in general. So like, I listened to everything, and then as I got older, I was more particular, and then I'd actually do the research on the people more than ever, before. So, like I know a lot about NF. I know a lot about 21 Pilots. So like those people I've dug into a lot more. I know some of the old people I've dug into. There's a group, 2 guys sing. They're older, but they
Milli Vanilli.
No. Oh gosh.
Oh, you're talking about Air Supply.
Air Supply, dude. Thank you. How did you know?
Because I remember you always talked about how you got the what's that? You got some kind of infomercial set, and I remember they were the ones that did the commercial.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Air Supply, yeah, dude.
Found you.
Yes, dude. They rock it. Let me tell you, them and Chicago's way up there, dude.
Yeah.
Okay,
Chicago's
so like
stuff.
Journey, Chicago, Air Supply. Mm-hmm. Those are really up there on my top 3, and then I just it's hard. It's hard when you're in the 80s music, it's hard because that era was so good. It's hard to just pick 5, you know what I mean? Like, over 48 years, it's hard to pick 5. But
and then she used to like Hall & Oates too.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Hall & Oates, another great.
Yeah. I can't go for that. No.
Yeah. I'll let you do all the singing.
Oh man.
But
So is there like a special place for you? Because with that kind of music for me, there's like a special place because it takes me back to being a kid, like in my mom's car or at your house or whatever, your mom's playing it, or it's like I think that our families were always playing music in some way, shape, or form our whole lives. So
yeah,
I can appreciate like Hall & Oates and Air Supply and that kind of stuff, but I mean, I think that's really why. Like I don't know, like if a band came out tomorrow that had the same sound as them, I don't know if I would jump to it and be like, oh man. I mean, unless it was because it was nostalgic, unless it was because I would be like, oh, this reminds me of this band I used to listen to when I was a kid,
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, music has its way of bringing you back in time. It always does. And so, I know the anytime a Diana Ross song comes on, that throws me back with Mom for sure.
Yeah. Your sister said the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it's yeah. Time flies.
So it sounds to me like, this is just my assessment. It sounds to me like rap is your favorite because you mentioned NF, you mentioned some other stuff. And then even a lot of the rock bands you mentioned are kind of like rap rock.
Right. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, you've got the old classics like Too Short.
Yeah.
Cypress Hill was a great band. Slick Rick. Yeah. All these. The Fresh Prince.
Yeah, all the tapes we used to get from Kmart.
Pretty much. I can't, Well, what's funny is one in one of NF's new songs, he talks about, picking up a CD or a tape from the store. Like,
right.
That's nostalgic, like
right.
I remember
right.
going there and looking at tapes,
yeah.
and
yeah.
You couldn't just skip to the next song. You had to forward and go, until they made the one that could actually skip a song on a tape. But
right.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, you couldn't.
There used to be like a player where it would fast forward and it would literally stop after
the next song. Yeah.
Oh, and remember when CDs first came out? That was that just was so amazing.
Just blew you away. Yeah.
Wait a minute. You mean I can just click to whatever song I want to listen to?
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
I don't know. There's it's a lot of music. What'd you think of Grandpa's songs? What'd you think about his talent? You've listened to him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to back away and not know it's my grandpa. Like I feel like there's a certain level of liking something that goes into something if you know the person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost more special if it's a friend or a family member where you're like, hey, right. I know this guy's related to me or he's my family. So I mean, I listened to it and I think, yeah, I mean, it's good. I think he had a great voice.
Right.
But I mean, if I didn't know who that was and I was in a department store or something, do we still have department stores? I'm thinking of old music. So I'm thinking of old stores.
Yeah.
So I'm in a store and I hear one of his songs or something or a song that sounded just like it. And I didn't know who it was. I don't know if I'd be like, oh man, get out the Shazam. Who is this? Man, right. I got to go down and get this wherever this is at. Cause this is just rocking.
You have to take yourself back to the, to the 60s,
Sure.
And so
he sounds kind of like Elvis, right?
Right. Yeah. And so you'd have to, it's funny. The story with him is I've heard that he gave up music for the girls.
What all the girls?
If that's for his daughters, like he get for the family life.
Right. But I wonder if they would all attest to that. Do you think they would?
I know that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's something that, was just his way of things not working out. So that's what he said, or
right.
Maybe it wasn't said at all. I don't know.
Right.
It could be a rumor.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think it's cool that we have that in our family. I mean, that's definitely, that's one of those things I think as an adult now, you're just like, I know I have a lot of regrets about not spending more time with people, because it's like now as an adult, I would love to sit down and talk to Grandpa about the old days and be like, hey, what was that like? You were a singer? Oh, cool. You owned a bar, let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of this old stuff. And now they're all gone,
Right.
I was just talking to my dad the other day about feeling that way, like with my grandparents, I mean, on his side, and of course my grandma had died a lot sooner than me and your side.
Right.
I think she was probably my first. She was my first grandparent, I believe, to pass, and then grandma.
Were you close to great grandma?
No, not really. I mean, not really. I have vague memories, and none of them. I mean, they're funny now, but I mean, I don't have any like warm memories about how loving and sweet she was. It was always like, what'd she say? I have a memory I have a memory of one time because she used to cook the Italian spaghetti sauce right all day on the on the stove, and I've kind of been a germaphobe my whole life, and she would stir it and she would take some out on this wooden spoon and she'd put it in her mouth and taste it and then put the spoon right back into the, and of course my parents are like, well, son, it's boiling, it's like it's gonna kill all the germs, but I'm like, yeah, but this old lady just put her nasty mouth on there and she put it back in the sauce. I'm not eating that. I'll take mine with butter and cheese, So I have stuff like that. And then I have another one where I had warm milk. I think I spent the night at her house in Whittier one night or something. My parents went out somewhere. So I don't remember the exact circumstance, but I had milk and honey. That's something, warm milk with honey is something I used to drink before bed when I was a kid. and I had that. Well, then her boyfriend or whoever, that guy that was living with her at the time, I don't even remember his name now. He had just warm milk, no honey, just warm milk. And I asked great grandma, I said, hey, can I try some warm milk? Cause I'm thinking I've never had it without honey. I wonder if it's any good. Can I have some warm milk? And she goes, you already got your milk. And I was like, whoa, okay. All right.
Well,
cool.
back then milk was, $50 a gallon. So
yeah, I guess, I guess, I don't know what. Yeah. So I don't have a lot of warm memories. And I know my mom will say, well, she just had a hard life. She had a really, really rough life. And my mom will say she was very loving. She was a very loving woman. She just was very hard. She was a hardened woman because of all of the things that she dealt with growing up and stuff. But how about you? Do you have memories with her or no?
Of great grandma or grandma?
Great grandma. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I not a lot really. Like I have her face in my memories, but I remember this. She used to wear this all green little puffy outfit.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember that.
You remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Yeah.
No.
And she'd have she had this little, short hair, kind of curly, tiny woman. I don't know if she's 5'1", maybe.
Oh, she had to be about 3 feet tall, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, she had to be.
Yeah, she was tiny.
And I think she got smaller and smaller as she got older.
Yeah. She was shrinking back into the earth. I remember her giving us money. Quarters and stuff.
She must have liked you better than me then. She wouldn't even give me milk. She wouldn't give me milk. She's giving you money.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think she gave us quarters. I can't remember, but yeah, no, it was something else. But
and there's probably like Bill Cosby talks about with the grandma's always giving the kids money, and he's like, that is not the same woman I grew up with. You're looking at an old person who's trying to get into heaven now. Right.
Totally true. Yeah. So I mean, family.
Yeah. Yep. So how about this is a kind of a hard one. Most influential band or artist for you personally? Like something that changed you, beyond just enjoying the music. Like it actually changed who you are as a person.
That is a hard one. I know music influenced me a lot, especially with, I was one of those guys that would, sad situation going on, I'm going to throw on some Tiffany, and cry my eyes out.
Yeah. The flowers you gave me.
Yeah. Little Debbie Gibson, those were the classic ones in junior high. You break up with a girl and that's the song you put on, you cry over in the corner or something.
Right.
Actually, I was probably getting dumped at the time. So there wasn't too much breakup going on from this guy.
Right.
But a group that changed my life. Ooh. You know what? I would have to say the Christian music, because of my faith and being a Christian. I tend to listen to those songs because I'm trying to find the truth in some of them. And it's got stuff to learn in those songs. Do you know what I mean? Not all of them, but there are ones that are written pretty good. And so when I hear that stuff, I think, oh shoot, I never looked at something that way, or, because I'm always wanting to change.
Do you have an example?
Oh man.
I mean, I understand what you're saying as far as it's more meaningful because obviously your spirituality is the most important aspect of your life. So if there's music that can, lend to that.
I don't know. It wasn't like that in the beginning of my Christian walk. But, don't know what started it, but one day I because you'd have the 30 minutes of singing before church started, right? And so you're going through everything, and I'm just reading the words up on the thing, and one day I started telling myself like you need to pay attention to the words and really like what are we really singing here? What's this all about? And why are we doing this? Right. I think because for a while there was, in the beginning, it was uncomfortable to show outwardly, speaking to God when you're praise and worshiping, or, it's still, awkward sometimes, but, I think about sometimes when I see people like in another country, a third world country that are, 100% committed to God. And I think like they'll do anything, they're not embarrassed or ashamed to talk to God or show him that he's there. And so I think about that now in these moments, like if I'm really feeling it and I'm connecting with God and I want to put my hand up, and say something, then I do it. It's not, I'm I'm more comfortable with it because I'm really speaking to him when I do it. So,
so you mean like your physical posture?
Yes.
Makes it feel more meaningful to you.
Yeah. Because I don't know. My first thought when I say that is I'm going out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And I don't think I'm supposed to be comfortable.
Right. Well, something that I always kind of bring up with that, and I'm sure you and I have talked about this before, of course, but it's that whole idea, like you got certain worship poses, right? in the church, and everybody's. So when I see some guy say, if you really want to step out of your comfort zone and worship the Lord, quote unquote, in a way that's you don't feel like is learned from another human, right? Because obviously if the Lord wants you to do that, you're just going to be sitting there by yourself and your arms are going to go up or whatever. But I almost feel like we kind of do that just because that's what people around do. And people either do both hands up high, or they do the half mast, or they do this kind of deal where they got their hands open face in front of them. Or some people do the one hand up. But it's usually some combination of those four. I want to see, I want to see one time a guy that's worshiping just grab his ears and start shaking them or something. Or sitting down on his butt and spinning around in a circle. No, you just want to see something unique, something different. Because then, like for me, otherwise I feel like I'm doing it because I'm seeing other people do it.
That's okay. So there's the point there, right? But that's the thing. Like when you see someone because I've been at church especially the first Foursquare church that I was in, they were very charismatic. Sure. And that to me was like, boy, that was way out there, and I'm a little scared. Right. So if I see somebody kind of freak out and do that, I don't know how I would feel. It's been a long time since I've had someone be that way. I've experienced, my story of speaking in tongues. So
let's hear about it, man. Let's hear it. Let's get it on the record here and now.
Get it on record so we can play it 10 years later.
Tell us all about your spiritual gift that you have.
My spiritual, so my forced spiritual gift that that I had no option or way to get out of it. They announced that this church, everybody's going to speak in tongues right now, and they got into groups. I don't know how I got separated. Somehow I got left alone. I got in a group without my wife, and
this was when you and Danielle were already together?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was before that.
Was it? Gosh, yeah. I could maybe I was at
I thought that was at Orchid.
Was it the Orchid Baptist Church?
I thought it was Orchid Foursquare.
Oh, I don't know. Because
back then there was Orchid Foursquare and there was Santa Maria Foursquare, and I think the Orchid one was much more charismatic.
I don't think I went to an Orchid one.
No.
I started at a Baptist church. The one Tina was the pastor, was a woman. It was right next to Barbara Gorman's church.
The one her dad pastored, you mean? Or
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a church on the right, and then there was another section on the left. If you're on the right hand.
How did you end up over there?
I think I heard it was a Foursquare church. And so I just looked in the book and went and found one and showed up. And the first day I went there, I felt like the whole sermon that she was talking to me and what I was going through at that time.
Right.
And so like, I was just blown away. I was like, oh my goodness, what is this about? And so, I was sold. And so I just kind of, I went there for, I don't know, a little while, you know? And then, I don't know how long after that I started going to the Santa Maria Foursquare, but.
And anyway, so I cut you off. So you're at the Santa Maria Foursquare.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure if it's not, you know, I don't know. Anyways, I was at a Foursquare church.
You're at some church.
I was at some church, and I got singled off into a group, and somehow the 5 people in the group picked me that it was going to be. And so,
well, you look like you had that fire, man. I mean, they said that guy right there, he's got some tongues inside of him right there.
I had the big sign on me that said, "This is the one," or "This is the way." This is the way.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just, you know, I said we all put our heads down, and everybody put their hands on their shoulders in a circle, and you know, I just, I did a bunch of hula hula.
No,
and you know what?
Why did you do that?
I didn't know what else to do, and that was the only way I could figure out. That's what I've only seen before. And
yeah, so, but like, did you feel like they wouldn't leave you alone if you didn't?
Yeah, they weren't moving, man. They were waiting for that thing to jump out of me. And
so after you did that, were they like, "All right, cool, now we'll leave them alone"?
They all said, "Okay, we understood that. Great." No,
yeah.
I honestly, I think I blacked out at that point, and you know, I don't remember what happened there or how I got out of it, but that's still a really funny story to me.
Yeah. So looking back now, what do you think about that experience? Like, what do you think about? Do you think that was right of them to do that or no?
Absolutely not. Yeah,
Why?
no, I don't think it happens that way at all.
Why not?
I think, I mean, it can. I mean, it could have if God wanted it to. Like, maybe that was set up, and it was going to come out of me. And I don't know when it's going to happen. But you know, looking in line with I don't know. I don't imagine, when it's. I don't know if when you speak in tongues, when that moment actually happens. Do you remember what you're saying? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've never, I've never experienced that. I don't know anybody else that has.
Well, I mean, the only actual recorded history of speaking in tongues that we have in the Bible is in Acts 2. Like, there's a couple other spots in Acts where we hear that it happened, but Acts 2 is where you actually see it, like how it all plays out.
Where everybody in the crowd, everybody from a different country, were able to understand this one person, right?
Right, in their own language, which tells you what? It tells you that what you just did a minute ago, what language is that? Is that a language, or is that just you going blah, 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 blah?
That's what, in my mind, that's all I was doing. So
right. Well, that is all you were doing because again, the point is somebody should be hearing that in their own language.
Right.
So the only reason biblically for that to be happening is if someone in that room you were in, within earshot of you, could hear you speaking in their own language. Right. And I think we can both realize that that's not what was going on, right?
No, I was not being called to do that. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No. There was a lot of, I don't know. I mean, I know it happens, but.
Well, you're a step ahead of me then, because I don't think.
Well, I guess the only reason I know what happened, I know what's possible. I guess I should say I know it's possible.
Of course, God can do whatever He wants, but I mean, to me, it's the idea that He's going to reach across the language barrier.
Right.
Right. If I'm in Austria and I don't speak anything but English, and there's somebody there that the Lord wants to minister to, then He's going to break the language barrier, and He's going to make. I'm probably going to be speaking in what I think is English,
Correct.
But this guy who only speaks, I don't know what the language is there. I don't think it's Austrian, but whatever the language is,
right?
He's hearing it in his language, and the Lord's using me to minister to this guy,
right,
across the language barrier. Because unless God gets involved, it's just going to be me speaking English to him, and he's going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, to me, that's what tongues is. But then people get all involved in this spirit language and I say, well, what do you mean spirit language? Where are you getting that from? And they say, oh, well, Paul said if I speak with the tongues of angels. And it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, he's saying even if I did but didn't have love, then I'd be this. He's not saying he does speak in the tongues of angels or some angelic language.
Right.
And I know people that say they have a prayer language and they, this is just the language I use when I pray to God and he understands me. I'm like, well, but he also understands English. So why don't you just pray to him in English? Like again, I always go back to what's the point?
Right.
Like really, what are you trying to do? And most of the people I talk to, they have this air about them. Like, well, I have my own personal spiritual language that I have with God. It makes them feel special. I have this gift.
Yeah. See, when you're looking at gifts and spiritual stuff, that's really not, I mean, the part in Acts that you're talking about, he was trying to get a point across to a whole bunch of people.
Right.
It wasn't like he was trying to show off that he, like there's some spiritual gift here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So unless there's other stuff to support that in the Bible somewhere, that doesn't seem like the same avenue.
Right. Well, if you find it, let me know, because I haven't been able to find it anywhere in there. So
okay. Well, if you haven't found it yet, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, shoot, we jumped right into some spiritual stuff there, didn't we?
Sorry.
We're good. I like when it goes all over the place. So let's go back into some music, and we'll finish up with that, and then we'll get into some other stuff. But
so you mean like as far as like so I would say the Christian music does a lot for me.
Has the biggest influence.
Yeah.
On you.
Any other regular music is more of like life, like stuff that's going on in life. Mm-hmm. Missing a loved one or the good old days with your best friend, stuff like that. But as far as like something, that's actually made a change in my life, I would say more Christian music, that's done it for me.
You have a favorite Christian artist? Or band? I gave you these questions in the email. You should have been prepared.
Yeah, I know. You know me.
Yeah.
Prepare for what?
Yeah.
That's how all the good stuff comes out when you just roll it and go on the fly.
Yeah. That's true.
I have a picture in my head. The album cover is like a tree. It's all branched off. It's like a lightning tree, all kind of like.
It's not ringing a bell, man.
Yeah. Well, there's I think of I just don't know if he had a lot of moving songs for me, but the concert we went to that one time.
Oh, Mercy Me?
Mercy Me, yeah. I know I really liked them in the beginning till they overplayed their song so much.
Yeah.
But David Crowder Band's good.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, TobyMac. There's a great one, by the way.
Okay. You've seen him live, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Fantastic. His story's awesome. I just think he's so talented how he can lyrically and the beats he uses, and when he was part of the group, right? He's part of
DC Talk, yeah.
DC Talk, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him go through his some terrible experiences of part of life, and see him still come back and put music out, and still be able to write songs. I also went and saw Michael Buble. I think he's really talented.
I believe it's pronounced Buble.
Buble, like the drink.
Buble, yes, Buble. No, that's Bubla.
He was really good in concert.
He's like a jazz kind of guy, right?
Yeah, and he has his own songs, but he does a lot of covers. I think. But Jocelyn, my oldest, turned me on to him, and instantly I thought he was really, really good.
Yeah, so, I don't think I've heard a whole lot from him. I know the name. Yeah, and whenever I hear the name, I always think of like Harry Connick Jr. Like he's a similar. Yeah, kind of
which
like
I'm a fan of him. My wife's actually a really fan of him. Yeah, but
kind of like a modern day Frank Sinatra kind of singer.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. There was I know I showed you this new artist. I haven't listened to more than one song of him yet, so I don't know if I really should even talk about him.
Go for it, man. Let it rip. Maybe you'll say it first here, and they'll blow up, and you'll be like, "All right, I said it first."
I think it's called. The name of the song is called. It's High Ren. Ren
is the rapper's name.
Okay, Ren. Yeah. So I've actually followed him a little bit on social media, a little bit, and what I've noticed with him is for one, he's going through a terrible disease.
In real life.
In real life, that's what that. If you watch that video is he's dictating a lot of what's going on in his life. Every scene is relevant to what he's really going through. What the outfit he's wearing, the chair he gets up out of, the room, everything he's been. It's really they could actually, a lot of people, a couple of the reviewers, a lot of them compare him to NF, right? And because of how honest he is, and he's also talking to himself. So he's got the double personality thing going on as well. So that's where they find the connection. Right. But just very unique. And what I've noticed is, like, I've seen the reaction videos of people watching his song, and he actually responds to almost all of them. Like, he responds to the reactors' videos and said, "Hey, thank you for checking out my video. I really appreciate your words of kindness, and blah, blah, blah." And so I guess I just haven't found that with a lot of artists that take the time to sit there and like go through. And even with the reaction. But
I was going to say, because before they get huge, right, they have the time to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but then you get so big, and it's like you have so many fans, you can't possibly respond to 4 billion people. Right. It's like in the beginning, if there's like a local band that I like or something, or I mean, maybe not necessarily local, but not real well known. Right. I can go see them in concert, and I can shoot the guy a Facebook message or something, and he'll respond back. Oh. And be like, "Oh, cool. Thanks, man. I'm glad you enjoyed the show." And blah, it's like that kind of thing. But like if I try to do that with NF, I mean, there's no way I'm getting a response. You know what I mean? Right. Because there's no way he's going to sit there and respond. And even if he did respond, it'd probably be somebody that works for him responding as him. It's probably not really him. I'm going to have to give that High Ren another shot, because I know you showed me that, and I think Aiden, there's a song before you showed me that. There's a song Aiden showed me by the same guy. It was a different song. Yeah. And I don't, that's why when you sent it, I was like, I've heard of this guy before. Oh, how funny. And I didn't really dig it. It was okay. I don't know, something about his voice or well, it's very unique. I mean, it's off the charts on so many levels, but it grabbed me. And I don't know, it was very real. And then, so I heard the song before I knew anything about him. And then to come find out, like, oh, wow, like this is all real. Right. And he's writing exactly what he's gone through. Unless it's all an act. No, he's got some pretty distinct videos of him in the hospital. So I think he has Lyme disease. Oh, yeah. Okay. And so he's from ticks. You get that from ticks, I think. Yeah. So, so I haven't really ventured out and listened to any more of his songs yet. So, I haven't done that yet.
I've just been intrigued by that song. So.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the name of the other song Aiden showed me. It was something about what's that old she sells seashells down by the seashore. It has that in it.
Oh, it does. You're right. I have heard that one.
Yeah, and that's why he was showing me, because he said the flow there was really interesting.
He's kind of like he's a little bit of a rapper, actually.
Right. Well, I thought that is what he is. Like when I heard even that High Rent song, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like an Eminem song or an NF song or something.
Right. Actually, he actually mentions him in the song.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Can you mention people like that in your song? Is that all right?
What do you mean?
And there's no rights to that or anything.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
you can talk about other people in your songs. I guess you can.
I don't think there's any laws against it. I know sometimes there's people that have diss tracks and they have beef with each other and they talk crap about each other over the over that. But
yeah, so I still don't have a hard time understanding that you don't like reaction videos. I get it. There are some. I get it though. There are some that because we're so much alike. You know what I mean? So like.
Right.
And I found something that I really like. I got a couple reacting people that I really follow.
Right.
I think like 3. But for me, especially when I really like a group, I like to take that moment in with someone else for the first time when they're watching it.
Yes.
And
I do too. But not
you don't
not some random stranger that I've never met and I never will meet.
Well, when you watch them enough times, you actually I feel like I could knock on the guy's door and say, "What's up, yo?"
No.
Yeah.
No way, dude. That's not that. See, I can't even. That's what I can't comprehend. I can't even imagine that. Like, like that'd be like saying like if I watch a TV show enough that I'd start to feel like I know the actor or I know the director of the show. It's like no, I don't. They're making an art form that I enjoy partaking of, which is why I like listening to a new song. I'm enjoying the music. I'm enjoying the song. I'm enjoying the video, and like, if it's me and you, like when I was just there to visit, we put on the NF album and we listened to the new NF album together for the first time. And that was awesome to experience that together because we're hearing it for the first time. But that's because I know you and I care about you. I don't care about some guy on the internet who's making funny faces and he's being weird about some, Plus, I don't. Here's the other thing. Hang on. Here's the other thing. I don't buy it. Yeah. I don't think. First of all, I don't believe that's the first time they're hearing it. I don't think at all it's the first time they're hearing it. And I think that they are overblowing their reaction because this is what they do for a living. They make reaction. You don't want a reaction video where just like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. No one's going to want to watch that. They want to watch some guy go, oh, what? Did you hear what he just said? Oh, dude. Oh, did you hear it? Whoa. And you're that's what people want to see, right? They want to see some guy who's totally excited and he's all, he's flopping around on the ground because he's just so happy the song just made his day.
Right. Right. Well, see, but here's the thing though. So like you can get those reaction videos, but when they've educated themselves and they've listened to full albums and they've followed the guy since the beginning and they make the connections with his story from the beginning to the end and they can recite back to the songs that were in album 2 and 3 and find the connection.
Right.
To me, that's deeper than just, hooting and hollering and kind of showing off and making.
Well, see, I've told you, I appreciate that. Like if I read, and I do this, I'll look into 21 Pilots, perfect example. Right, their lyrics are so deep,
yes,
spiritually, and they're saying things that nobody is saying in the way that they're saying it.
Right,
but it's so cryptic that a lot of times I listen and I go, I know they're trying to say something here, but I don't know what the heck that is.
Right.
So I want to know what. So I'll get online or I'll look it up, or I'll ask your sister because she usually has a pretty good mind for that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll go on there and people are figuring it out.
Right.
And they're like, oh, when he said this, he referenced back to this and this. And I'm going, and my mind's blown. I love that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what I get.
But that's totally different to me than a reaction video. Like I can just go online and read that. I don't need to watch some guy listen to a song in order to get that. Do you see what I'm saying? You enjoy watching them react
I do.
To the song. That's the
I
part
do.
you like that I could care less about. I don't care at all.
I enjoy seeing because these songs bring me emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So I get emotion from, and I enjoy seeing someone else experience that emotion at the same time.
Right.
So I relate with that.
Well, again, I do too, but only with people I know and care about.
I see.
Like we were talking about, like watching Sixth Sense with Noah for the first time.
Right.
That's awesome. Right. But for me to watch a reaction of some stranger on the internet as he's watching Sixth Sense, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care what he thinks about the ending. I don't want to see his mind blown because I don't care. I don't know the guy. Right. But a family member or a close friend, yeah, for sure. I want to be there for that,
Right.
So anyway, that's my take. But I mean, you're entitled, to your.
Well, no, it's right. I know it. But the thing, I could see like there are people that bother when they stop all the time. Okay, so like,
oh, that annoys me too. I'm like, just play the stinking song, man.
I know.
And then they'll replay the same part again and get to the same part and then stop it again at the same part. It's like you just talked about that part.
Right. And so what I really hate is when they stop it right before the best part of the song.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude, you're gonna get the full emotion right here.
Right.
And then they start it again and they miss it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man, you missed the best part of the song.
Yeah. Right. Especially like with it's like something like NF.
Correct.
Because his songs build and you got that kind of that orchestra kind of.
Yeah. So they kept doing it. They kept doing it to the song Running, which is one of my favorite songs on his newest album.
That's a mellow one though, right?
It is.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful and it's the whole turning point for him. And the whole album is, but that was like, it was a very well done ending to a CD. I think that album, I guess we can talk about it now. We've been wanting to talk about it. Yeah.
Because I've listened through it like 5-6 times at this point. So I think it's very close to taking over the number 2 spot for me as far as best NF albums. Because before it was The Search, number 1, Mansion, number 2.
Yeah.
And then Perception and what was the other one? Therapy Session. Those ones are okay. But then this one, Hope, was like, every time I listen to it, I keep thinking, wow. Not just lyrically, like musically, this is just as brilliant. Every song hits you right in the feelers.
Yep.
Like that pounding that what he's just become so good at is his the musical part of it.
Right.
Because I don't hear a lot of rappers that have that kind of sound, you know what I mean? Right. Like it's just, it's just phenomenal. So
it is.
I haven't quite put it in place of Mansion yet, but it's getting there. It's getting close.
It's like I said, it was funny because we listened to it together for the first time, and I liked a few songs right away.
Oh yeah, it didn't hit me though. It didn't hit me like that.
No, it didn't. And then so like I got like 2, maybe 3 songs off the album, and I was like, oh, those are great. Right. But then I started listening to it more and more, and like. Then every single one became great. Right. And I was like, and I love to watch his videos. I wish he'd do more. Like, I'd like to see more videos from him.
Well, that thing you sent me to where he was doing he was talking about the making of the Hope video, where he was saying that was the hardest video to make he's ever done. They spent like hours and hours and hours out on the water and doing all this stuff. And it was so hard. But like for me, most bands, most albums, most stuff that I listen to, that's the way it is for me. I have to listen to it 3, 4, 5 times until it really starts to hit me. It's very rare that something will hit me right away. As far as NF, I think the song "The Search," that was an exception. That one, as soon as he said "Where to Beat Go," and it's like, oh, ain't that going? See that coming? I was like, oh, dude, and then it just builds and builds and builds, and it gets the part where he says, what was it? Now y'all done it. And then he starts doing that real fast rap. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is like the best song ever made.
Yeah. For me, the one Notepad was a big one for me.
That's on Mansions, right?
I don't know. I forget, but that's
on Mansion. Yeah. That's on the,
that was a really cool song because that's the one where he's tying a whole bunch of his videos together, right?
I don't remember. Aiden would know. He's really good at that.
Oh,
yeah. It's on Mansion.
Okay. Yeah, so he just, the way he ties stuff in because everything is written, just like 21 Pilots, everything's written, it's all story bound. But
yeah. So that album is awesome.
It is.
So I'm at the point now where I kind of can't stop listening to it. So I'm just I'm listening to it.
Well,
because I listen to it in my ear. I listen to it in my
Yeah.
earbuds at work and stuff, and it's good. But like if I can play it in the car where I have better speakers,
Yeah.
and really crank it, it's like so good.
You know what? One group I couldn't get into
Who's that?
was the Beastie Boys.
Oh, shut up! Really?
I know. See, a lot of I know. I don't know.
Dude, I just talked about this a couple podcasts ago with somebody, but I mean, we were talking about the song "No Sleep Till Brooklyn."
Okay, yeah.
You cannot tell me when that comes on, you don't just want to rock out, man. That's the best, dude.
I have grown. Is that's not Brass Monkey, right? That's a different one.
It's on the same album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so I mean,
no sleep till Brooklyn.
Yeah, there was a guy at work who was big into him too, and like. Yeah. I couldn't get into them.
I love them, man. And I love them all the way to the end. I mean, they just constantly putting out good stuff. I mean, then they got kind of into they had was it Check Your Head, I think, with So What You Want was on there. So what you want. That was a cool one. I just loved their beats and the way their music sounded. I can't think of any other group that sounds like that. And then they had kind of the punk rocker with Sabotage. They had on that album, which was just awesome. And then one of the songs I used to play on the rides at the ranch was Intergalactic.
Oh yeah.
That's a good. See, they just have so many good songs, dude. I mean, man, I'm not gonna sit here and say I like every single song they ever put out,
right?
But the songs that they made that are really good, and I could probably take 20 of them and put them all together and just like, this is the best album, the greatest hits or something. And they're all so good. The good ones are just great, but yeah. So I'll pray for you on that.
Okay. Thanks.
In hopes that you'll,
you got it on tape here.
Yeah. That you'll come around,
There was another group I was thinking of. It was one that, I really enjoyed. And I remember talking to the Yams about it because one of the girls liked the group too.
A rapper?
No, it's a Christian group.
Maverick?
No.
For King and Country?
Oh yeah, that's the one. Thanks.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For King and Country. Yeah, no, I really like them a lot. So
have you seen them live yet?
I haven't. I know you have,
dude. If they're within 5 hours of you, I think you should go and see them. I've seen them twice.
Right.
The first time I saw them was with the Yam Girls, and Jocelyn was there.
Yeah.
And Aiden and Laura were there. I went down there, and I was the only adult. I went down to mid-state.
To the hot city.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a million degrees in the daytime, but thankfully it was great. By the time the show started and the sun went down, it was perfect. It was like 80 degrees, but there was no sun. It was dark. It was perfect.
Well, you were lucky because then it didn't take you long, but you got on film on the next one. I mean,
oh yeah, we got into one of their videos. Yeah, me and Addie. Yeah, that was awesome. That was down in LA. That was a cool show too.
Yeah.
They're great. They're a band that, I mean, they never miss for me. Every time they put out a new album, it's like, dude, this is it's almost like they just get better with every album, and I don't know a lot of bands that do that. Most bands, like their first one's always the best, and then they kind of, degenerate as it goes on.
Is Rebecca St. James, is that their sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
That's her two little brothers.
Yeah. What a musical talented family there.
Yeah. See, I don't think she's got the best voice in the world. I mean, she's got some great songs. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she wrote those or if someone else wrote them, but there's definitely some good songs in her catalog. But I don't listen to her voice and go, "Oh, she's such a wonderful singer."
Right.
She's better than me, but I mean,
well,
she's not. She's not like awesome or anything. But all right, man. Well, you ready for some politics or what?
Oh,
unless there's anything else you want to talk about musically.
I wish I could play music.
I know you're not the first one to say that.
Yeah,
and I have had people play it. I just have to cut it out. I have to edit it.
Yeah, you got the bass guitar down, right?
Yeah, I got it down. Dude, I haven't played in over a year. I'm sure if I picked it up now, I'd be like, what in the world?
Right.
I probably wouldn't know any of those songs.
Yeah, I always wish that was something that I was, I made easier to do or pick up, or I see the kids pick up stuff like nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like anything. It takes practice. I mean, you gotta put time into it.
Yeah, not for your oldest son though. The guy can pick up an instrument to start playing.
Well, yeah, he's got definitely got a natural talent.
Yeah.
But he does. He put a lot of time into it when he put out his first album and stuff. He put a lot of time into that.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of wish he would do. I keep hoping like his next album or whatever, the next one would be back to some of the acoustic stuff with a guitar.
With him actually playing.
Yeah, because he hasn't done a whole lot. I mean, I like his rap stuff too. Don't get me. In fact, lyrically, I think some of his rap songs are just. I mean, there's certain songs I can't even listen to without getting emotional.
Right.
Because they're so. Right. I mean, they're just. I mean, it's of course it's harder for me because it's personal, right? I know him.
Correct.
I love him, care about him, and I hear some of the, and maybe because I know what the song's about, I know who he's writing it about, or I know what situation he's referring to,
Right.
So, but anyway.
Right.
All right, man. So let's talk politics. I know you're king politics.
Yeah,
all about
my least. We need to get. What's his name on here first? Why can't I think of his name?
I don't know. Who are you talking about?
The controversy guy.
Eminem?
No, the singer. The one I introduced you to.
Oh, Tom McDonald?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was showing him to a guy at work the other day.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine that I work with, he's pretty conservative and he loves rap. He's all about it. He's a young guy and he's all about hip hop and stuff. But he's actually on this podcast too. He's gonna be one of the first episodes. But he's so I was showing him some of Tom McDonald's, like, oh, check this guy out.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool lyrics. But if you're into that kind of thing. But so. All right, man. Well, where do you want to go with politics? I mean, what are you thinking? What's on your mind? What's brewing? What are you passionate about? What do you think sucks?
I think the thing that bothers me the most is, well, I don't know if this is politics, but it's the way things are being pushed in the world today.
Yep, I consider that politics.
Okay, so I mean, change is good. I love change, but there's been a lot of change in my life over the years, but it's never been forced, and that's where I think is the most disturbing. So, and it's as an adult, I could take it, whatever, I'm an adult, but when it gets to your kids or your children, and that's where the brainwashing starts.
So explain to me what are you talking about? What's being pushed? What's brainwashed?
Agendas, like political agendas or social agendas. Change that's going on in this world now is it needs to be told and it needs to be forced to believe. Where, if someone, wanted to be different or not really different, but, be whoever they want to be, that was like, okay, well, that's fine, but it's become more of a, you have to be so careful how you talk these days. Because you feel like everything you say it can be stabbed at.
You're using caution with your words. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because
the good thing about this podcast is we have time.
Yeah.
So you don't just have to make a claim or a statement. You can explain it.
Right.
Because the problem is a lot of times people will say just something and they know what they mean.
Right.
And someone else will be like, oh, he said this and here's what he means. And they go and they run with it and they might be wrong about what that guy means.
Right.
At least on here, you can say, here's what I'm talking about and here's what I mean. and I can take a whole hour to explain it if I need to. You know what I mean?
Well, like if you think back, like when they started doing, I guess like there's nothing wrong in okay, so like commercials started, right? And so we had the racial issues with commercials where it was one race all the time. And then, they started slowly like changing that aspect of life and introducing, other different races and making it more complete,
inclusive.
More,
so you mean it was all white people to begin with?
Right.
And they started adding more minorities into the picture.
Yes. Which I was fine with that. Mm-hmm. That's all good. I think that's good, healthy growth because that's the way it should be anyways.
Right.
But and even on an adult level, like we have the choice to watch what we want to watch. But when they start touching the children at such an early age of these ideas of, you can be this person or this way or that way. And they feel they have the right to do that. Then that's where a big line for me draws.
So you mean when they start putting things about racial equality into children's programming, you have an issue?
Yeah, that. And just,
you don't have a problem with them putting minority characters necessarily into kids shows. You're just saying when they present it in a way where it starts talking about racism, and because I mean, like, I think you and I would agree that there's a healthy way to talk about racism.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Like if we're going to have a cartoon and we're going to talk about how all people are equal, it doesn't matter what race or ethnicity or any of that stuff, male or female, like everybody needs to be loved and respected in the same way. And I think that goes for sexuality. I think it goes for gender and all, all that kind of stuff. There needs to be love and respect given both ways. But it seems like a lot of this agenda, which is what I think you're getting at, seems to be pushing from one side. So now it's reversing it to say, okay, this was wrong in the past for us to say that this group of people is bad simply because of who they are.
Right.
And now it's become like, oh, but this other side now, they're the bad guys because of who they are.
Right.
Right. So it's like, it's almost like a reversed racism kind of thing.
I heard a thing a while back, and it's probably like 10 years ago, but they were like, Hollywood isn't going to accept any movies unless all these dots were crossed before the movie could even go out.
Well, no, it was if it's what I'm thinking about, it was the Academy Awards saying they're only going to nominate certain movies for awards if they meet the certain criteria. Like it has to have a certain amount of strong female characters, certain amount of it has to have at least one gay character, it has to have certain amount of minorities, and that kind of thing. Which and to me that's like that just destroys the art form completely.
Right.
What if you're writing a movie about Germany or whatever, it's all Germans. You're telling me you can't have all Germans in a movie about Germany. You have to have some other people in there, and it's just gonna mess the story up.
Right.
I think the stories should be told the way they need to be told. Right. Like I don't sit there and watch a movie that's about Africa and get mad because there's not more white people in the movie. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to, that thought's not even going to go through my mind,
Right.
Or even now, if I'm watching a movie that's set in New York City in 2012 or whatever, like modern day.
Right.
I'm not counting the number of white people. I'm not counting the number of black people. I'm not counting the number of Hispanic people. Like, it's just not something I'm concerned about. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I don't notice it. It's just, I watch a movie and I think that movie was great or that movie sucked. And it has nothing to do with the ethnicity of the people that are in the movie. It's just, it's either good writing and good acting or it's not, Right. So,
but what society and the media has done is now, like, it's pinpointed all that. And so when you're watching something like that, you can see all the hidden stuff that's now present in it, where before I never thought that way. I never looked at things that way. You know what I mean? Like, it never crossed my mind. It was almost, I was almost oblivious to it. Like, to where now in the last 10 years, it's more, I can see it now. But you know, it's all started, you know, a lot of it started in the school systems, you know, like, you know, I still don't like the fact that, you know, at 13 and 14-year-olds, the kids, you don't have rights to their medical history.
Right.
Like they've cut out parents into that point.
Right.
I don't like the fact that they brought in counseling for kids at school to where they can, you know, do whatever that you want to the consent of a 13-year-old. Like, that stuff really bothers me. Like, that's
as if 13-year-olds really have how to make those kinds of decisions. And I'm not saying we shouldn't ever take into account the 13-year-old's feelings,
right,
or what they think, but I think the parents should be involved in that. The parents should have a say. It should be maybe the parents, the child, and the counselor,
right, working
through this together. Because it's like, look, the 13-year-old maybe has a problem. They're struggling with something. They need help. I'm not just saying just leave them alone. Well, but I also don't think that the counselor coming in or the school coming in saying, okay, we're going to replace the parents and we're going to do the job of the parent.
Right.
I don't think that's the right thing to do either. You know?
Well, and that's what we've talked, you know, so like back in the 50s, like people used to get married at 13 years old. But the difference between a 13-year-old back then and now is they were very mature at 13 then. They were growing up in hard times and they grew up fast.
Right.
Like they became adults at 13 years old. Right. Where our 13-year-old kids now, like, they're not ready at all.
No, our 30-year-olds aren't ready most times these days.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes to your 30s before you realize something. So, you know, it's just a different, you know, it's way different. It's almost like we've gone forward in a lot of ways, but backwards as human beings. I don't know.
I mean, one of the things that I've seen that I think, and this is the biggest issue I think with what you're talking about, is I don't necessarily know how this is happening or why we're breeding children this way, but the focus is all themselves. How can I be happy?
Yeah.
How can I achieve? How can I get what I want?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times it's like, and I want to do so without doing any work at all. I think not only do I want everything that I want, but it's like, I also think it's owed to me.
Yeah.
Somebody owes me something. I mean, I'm supposed to have the best life in the world and get everything I want simply because I am who I am.
Correct.
It's like that's something that didn't exist 50 or 60 years ago.
Right.
As much, you know, it was, you know, like you were saying, there's, you know, Paul Washer talks about this sometimes in some of the countries that he ministered in, but he would talk about there's certain countries, even today, even in 2023, where they still do get married when they're 13, 14,
right.
You know, but he talks about how the male, he can take care of a family. He builds his own house. He hunts. He you know, he can protect his wife and children.
Right.
You know, these days it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get married and then we're just gonna have fun. And it's like, you know, and I mean, a lot of kids don't even want to get married anymore because for what?
Yeah. Right. Well,
what benefit is there? They're getting everything there is to get anyway.
Correct.
You know,
well, and a lot of them, they go off to college and they never leave. Right. Because mom and dad are still paying for it as long as they're there. Well, I'm going to go get my master's now and I'm going to go get my master or the BBB and like, so they just stay there forever. Right. And it's just party on. But it's just a different, I really, so, you know, our parents grew up and, you know, they didn't have a lot. And so they took us in and they tried to give us everything.
Right.
As much as they possibly could. Yeah. And then we got our kids and we've actually learned from that and tried to go backwards from that.
Yeah.
So we've tried to undo what was done to us
Right.
Because we see the repercussions of the I want, and what's the purpose of life, and it's all about me.
Yeah,
so,
where the parents would say, I want to give my child all the things I never had.
Correct.
But it's like,
there.
but you're the good person you are.
Right.
Because of all the things. Exactly.
Right. So you sit there telling your grandparents, hey, let's not do the Christmas gift this year, or let's not, let's only do one, or, let's tone it down a little bit, and they're like, wow, I got to buy him something, and I want to get him this and do that. And I'm like, no, man, you know what they really want? They want your attention.
Yeah.
They want that one-on-one time, and, maybe not for every kid, but we've tried to raise our kids with that belief, and, and it's working to some extent,
Yeah, it's working good, man. He's up 3 a.m. out there getting the eggs from the chickens, and he's out there, Yeah. I bet Noah could get married right now. I mean, he could probably build a house and take care of a family.
I don't know. Not quite there yet. But I will say, it's but then again, raising your kids in this world is scary. So because they're going to go through a whole nother set of stuff, if we're not around for that. So
right. So you say that. So you say raising kids in this world right now is scary, and I agree with you. So how do you find a balance between quote unquote sheltering your children and making them be productive members of society? Because a lot of people say you shelter your kids too much, then they're going to be all messed up when they go out into the real world, right. Because they're going to be shock value or whatever. But then there's other parents that are like, well, yeah, I just let my kid do whatever's because I don't want them to be too sheltered.
Yeah. So you have the two extremes there. So I'm kind of in the middle. Okay. We don't run from something when it happens. We talk it out and we explain the situation of what's going on. Like, if we see when we got trapped in with all the cop cars that pulled around us, you know what I mean? Like, right. That's our time to explain and talk and, introduce them to things like that happen every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was kind of forced on you though. You couldn't really go anywhere anyway. You couldn't run away from that if you wanted to.
No, right. But it was a moment. It was a situation that we could, explain what's going on when you're out this late at night. These are what happened, and these are the people that are out there. And so that was a good realization for them, and they both got the clue there.
Yeah, but aren't you just that makes it sound like everybody that's out at that time of night is the kind of person who's going to get arrested by cops?
Well, what it is,
you don't want to.
But I mean, hey. Either. Everything bad happens at, between midnight and 4 a.m.,
Right. Yeah. I've never seen anything bad happen between 5 and 5
That's
p.m.
right.
Never happened.
Never. So, it's a rule of thumb. You know what I mean? Like if you're out that late, be careful, and
I don't know, man. I've had the opposite experience. I'm out late like that. Everybody's asleep, and the streets are quiet. Yeah. There's not a whole lot going on. It's nice. It's peaceful.
There are areas like that. Yes.
Yeah. I'd almost rather be out late at night than in the daytime when everybody's out and about,
we expose them to things, I think it all comes down to communication. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of explaining what things mean, how to deal with it. And luckily, we have a Christian background to back things up with. I think that's a big key in everything is we have all the rules and the tools that's needed to give the advice that you need to give to your kids.
Sure. What do you mean by expose? Break that down for me.
So, they go to this school, right? They go to this, it's called a
charter.
Not charter. No, it's it's a learning resource center.
Okay.
It's faith-based. And so it's grown in numbers over the years. So you're not always going to get your, good Christian families there. People are still going to use it that aren't Christian.
Sure.
You'll get kids in there that have a foul mouth or something of that nature. And, when things happen like that and it happens in front of the kids and, it's kind of like, okay, we don't talk like that, and those, we just kind of talk about it. We ask their feelings, and just explain that that's not the way God wants us to be. And that's, we don't follow those things. Instead of like grabbing them and holding their ears and running out the door, you know what I mean? Like the stuff's still going to happen to him, whether, I'm not just going to stand there while the guy's, spewing his mouth off. I'm going to slowly, if I can get out of the situation, I'm going to walk away from it,
right.
But when my kids are on their own, they're on their own, so I can't be there all the time. But the big thing is they need to, in a way, be trained to talk to you about it when it happens, so that you have the opportunity to teach them and give them either how to handle that situation or what you could have done differently, or maybe it's not the best thing to be hanging around these people, stuff like that, to take yourself out of the situation. So
at what point would you, what would it have to get to for you to decide, maybe this school is not the best place for my kids? Would it have to be like them?
It would have to be
joining in with these kids.
It would have to be where the school's not, they're okay with it. They're not complying, so like we spoke up about it and it was quickly dealt with. And
I would say that's the same. I mean, that's similar to getting them out of the situation, because what you're doing is you're fixing the situation so that it hopefully doesn't happen anymore. It's not like you're not saying that you're just like exposing, because you use the word expose. And that's why I asked you about that, because a lot of parents will say, oh, I purposely expose my children to these kinds of things.
Yeah, no, I'm not that route.
So I can have teaching opportunities. I'm like, well, if the teaching opportunities come up, I mean, obviously you're not going to keep your kids in the house all the time. You're going to be out and about. Things are going to happen. Things are going to be seen.
I don't like that approach. I don't like I've heard from people say like, well, I went through it and it was good for me to learn those things.
Right. I turned out okay is what people say.
I turned out okay. Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't like that scenario. I feel like if I know something is wrong, then I shouldn't be having them go through the same thing I went through. You know what I mean? I'm here to teach them so we don't make the same mistakes.
Right.
And then we move forward, because there's going to be a whole folder of other stuff they're going to make mistakes with.
But doesn't that fall kind of in the same area as what we were just talking about, where like say being poor or something is what made you the person you are today in a good way?
Yeah.
To where you could say maybe the parent went through something like that. Maybe they were around bad things growing up and they're good people today because of what they experienced, and they realize they don't want to be that way. So that maybe if you don't expose your kids, and I'm not saying purposely, but I mean, to where maybe that is a bad thing.
Right. Right. And I know that my bad experience in life have made me who I am. I get that comment. Like, yes, they did. It worked that way. I've made changes because I've learned the hard way, but what you don't want to do is have my, 40 years of hard learning, and then they get their own 40 years of hard learning, and now they've got 80 years worth of stuff that they got to try to battle through.
Right.
I mean, like, I want to fix what I've been through and the knowledge that I know, because ultimately once they're 18, they're going to figure, it's their choice what they're going to do, anyways. My goal is just to get them to whenever they leave the house. And
but that's only true with certain things, right? I mean, like when the example you used a minute ago was about, kids using bad language, on the playground or whatever in front of your kids. And, your kind of response to that as well. yeah, I don't like it, but I'm just going to use that as a teaching opportunity to teach my kids. Yes, some kids say those things. Some people say those things. You are not to say those things. That's not okay for you to say. But I think there's certain, if we go to other topics, right, you say if certain things are happening at that school, I don't think you would say, oh, this is a teaching opportunity. Let's say if there was like inappropriate touching or something by an older kid to your younger child, or even if there was violence, if right. You know, your kid was getting beat up every time right. he went over there.
Right.
I don't think you're going to, I mean, you might say, okay, I'm going to teach my kid how to fight back, or, you know, I think parents will have different kind of approaches to that.
Yeah, no, there's lines to that. Yeah, no,
right.
that wouldn't be that, you know, I wouldn't stand for that. No. I guess just like anything else, we've talked about levels, which is one of the best analogies, I think.
Well, it is just because it's always fascinating to me how people have them in different places.
Correct.
And I'm always interested in the why.
Yeah.
You know, like why are some things where you stop and some things are where I stop and someone else stops right. way farther down or farther before, you know, like what's that one thing that, like, what's the line you can't cross before right. somebody says, nope, that's right. it. I'm out of here. It's done. Right. You know?
Right. That's it.
Right.
And that's that line is, you know, is as a Christian is your walk of faith. So to me, you know what I mean? Like that's.
Well, yes, but I mean, when we start talking about like biblical things, it's we've talked about this before, where we're talking about like TV shows or movies or the kind of thing where there's a lot of and the main, I mean, I've seen this probably more times than I can count now with families that I know, Christian families, where they can be watching a TV show that's full of bad right. language, it's full right. of, you right. know, bad violence for the age group that's watching it, all this stuff. And that's all good and fine. But as soon as they introduce a gay character, that's it. We're not watching this show anymore. Game over. Turn it off. Never watch it again. Burn it. Get it out of my face.
Yep.
And it's like all of a sudden that becomes like the cardinal sin of all time. And I'm not even talking about necessarily like there's a gay sex scene or something. I'm just talking right. about there's a gay character and maybe they mention it one time. Oh, this guy has a boyfriend. And that's all that's right. ever said. You don't see him kissing. You don't see him doing anything, right. holding hands, nothing. It's just the mention. Oh, this guy's gay. Oh, that's it. Turn it off. It's like, what?
I think for me personally, that comes from the agenda that's pushing it. So,
well, then that's the answer I always get. But there's an agenda with everything.
There is.
There's an agenda. Right. There's
an
agenda to worldly, to what's the word I'm looking for? To make our kids worldly.
Right.
And whether that's profanity, whether it's what you're talking about, the gay agenda, I don't like that terminology, but I know what you're saying.
Right.
But to me, if we're talking biblically, there shouldn't be any difference. So why do so many Christians, and I think that's a cop-out answer, to be honest with you, to say, oh, it's just the agenda. That's the problem I have with is the agenda. Well, no, you don't. You have a problem with that specific thing. It's not an agenda you have a problem with. There may be an agenda there. I would probably agree with that. But there's other agendas you don't have a problem with that are just as non-biblical, right?
I guess I feel like
they have a problem with homosexuality. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have a problem with it. But they put it on a pedestal where that's always the cop-out answer is like, oh, it's the agenda. That's why I'm against it. It's the agenda.
That's what's new in our generation. You know what I mean? Like that's been so I don't have a problem with other genders and races and stuff, you know, like that, whatever you call that stuff. Like, I don't have a problem with that stuff. You can be whatever you want to be in my mind. That's totally fine. Mm-hmm. I just don't like it when it comes to kids. As far as me watching it in a show, if it's my line is when it gets physical. Mm-hmm. That's when that's at the point that I just don't, it's not a good feeling at that point. Mm-hmm. So, but for me, it's when it's affecting the kids in an unhealthy way at an early age.
So explain that. What do you mean?
Well, like I watched I watched that series with Matt Walsh.
What is a Woman?
What is a Woman?
The movie?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that was with you. Yeah. So that like that. Remember, we got pretty heated in that. I was all kind of talking a whole bunch about that when that happened.
Sure.
Like that whole scenario with the doctors and what's happened to people that have had that done. In fact, wasn't it recently that a state just kind of shot that down because they were trying to pass a law for that to be okay to do to young kids?
Oh, there's lots of states that are fighting that battle right now that are
right.
It's trying to get and again, it's dealing just with kids. It's saying, look, we don't think that even if the kid wants to have this operation done or taking puberty blockers or whatever, that they can really make that life-changing decision at that age. I mean, like the point that I've talked about before, it's like you can't even drink a beer till you're 21.
Correct.
Yet they expect a 12 and 13-year-old to make a life-altering decision about changing their gender.
Right.
I mean, it's
right.
And statistically, you see that a lot of the kids that go through that when they're 12 or 13, most of them by the time they're 25, they're out of it. They're not into that anymore. So if you make this life-changing, like this operation or whatever, that that's going to take a lot of reversal, if you can even reverse it back to normal, which I don't really think you can. That's going to be difficult, and there's a lot of people speaking out against that right now and saying, "Look, I am." Well, like the guy in the movie, the Scott Nugent, I think was
oh right, exactly,
the name. Yeah, she's born biologically female, and she even said, she's like, I will never be a man.
Right.
I have done things to make myself appear to be a man. She said, but I'll never be a man.
Right.
And I can't reverse this now.
Right. Exactly.
So,
well, I think, so that's, gosh, what was I going to say? I had something else.
Yeah. You got to get a little notepad like me and write stuff down, because that's the only way I remember
We're the
stuff.
same way. Like we over talk because my thoughts don't last very long. Yeah. But, okay. So I heard a story recently of, so these people have a nephew or whatever, and this nephew in the parents' house has been wanting to be a girl. Okay.
Yep.
So they went on and on and on with this, and something happened, and I don't know if he had to move out or what happened, but he ended up being with the grandparents, living with the grandparents, and the grandparents said, "Ain't happening.
Yeah. You're
not going to be this way.
Right.
I'm sorry." And so they put their foot down.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, that person changed within like 4 to 5 weeks.
The kid, you mean?
Yes. Of not being that way anymore.
Right.
So I still think, I do believe that like there are, people out there who are gay and lesbian and stuff like that. And like that's who they are. I feel like it's been ramped up to where it's happening on a more normal basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it has to do with attention in my mind.
Sure.
I think the home is not doing what it needs anymore. I think social media is doing what it needs. Is bad. And it's a whole nother set of problems that this generation has to go through. I don't know. It's just and then it all comes back down to what we've talked about many times is two parents working.
Yeah.
The double household of working and letting school and other kids, raise your kids. And that's what drove us to homeschool. It's just, I did it. I went through it. You went through it. We turned out okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're totally fine, dude.
Totally fine. Not messed up.
I don't have any problems. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah.
Everything's perfect.
So, I mean, it's when you have a kid, it's, you want to do what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, well, you turned out fine, like we've already talked about, and you just send them out and they do it all over again. But
right.
What the kids are going through in school now is nothing compared to what we went through. Like, they're on such a higher level of disaster than we ever were in my mind, because of what's available to them, because of how soon it starts now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't see my first bag of weed until I was like 16 years old.
Right.
Well, now what's weed's nothing anymore, apparently. You can buy it, whatever. Mm-hmm. And kids are, they're seeing a lot more at, 7, 8, 6, the door's wide open.
Yeah.
So they have a whole set of stuff. And then, oh man, now they're getting me going on that one. The amount of therapy that's having to be, that these younger generation are having to go through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is normal to go to therapy,
right,
as a kid.
Yeah.
That just blows me away. That's sad to me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially your own kid. Like, you'd never want them to ever have to go to something like that.
Well, you might after the fact. What you're saying is you would hope that they would never.
Yes, if it works and it fixes them, great. But I don't believe that's the way it's supposed to work.
Right. You're saying they shouldn't have the issue to begin with.
Right. They shouldn't have gotten to that far, that they're that broken that they have to see somebody. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't have got to that point.
Right. Well, I think that it seems to me that one of the biggest things going on, that was there when we were younger too, but it's more there now, is the idea that the kids are being taught that nothing is their fault. Whether it's you're the way you are because your parents, you're the way you are because of a circumstance that happened to you, or you're the way you are because of all these different mental diseases that they could point to now and say, oh, you have this, you have
Correct.
this.
The labeling
is fault, right? This is the fault. It's not
Correct.
you,
right.
little Johnny. You're perfect just the way you are. You've never done anything wrong.
Right.
It's these outward forces that are forcing you to be this way.
Yep.
And
as if they don't have a choice. As if they don't have a choice.
Exactly. It goes back to the devil made me do it whole thing.
Right.
No, the devil tempted you to do something bad, but you decided to do it.
Correct.
Right. They're
no, they're very quick to point a finger. Very quick.
Right. Yes.
Like, it's never their fault. It's always because someone else did something else. Like, that's the terrible thing. Like, the part of accepting that you did something wrong is the growth process. So therefore, if you can't accept that you never did anything wrong, you don't grow.
Right where you are. Yep.
You stay right where you are, and you never grow.
Right.
And that's where we're at. Like,
exactly.
And then they wonder, what's going on? Why is everything so not working out? It's because you didn't. And I feel like a lot of them, like, they have a problem with failure. Like, I don't know where the issue with failure has become such a bad thing that it can't happen. To me, if I fail at something, great. I can learn.
Right, but I mean,
new.
They're getting it from the society. They're getting it from, you play sports and everybody gets a trophy.
Right.
No, everybody should not get a trophy. If you lost, you shouldn't get nothing.
Right.
You should be taught about how, you messed up.
How are you going to make yourself better if everybody gets a trophy?
Exactly. They should be taught, look, this other team won because they did better than you did.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So Yeah, and they stopped. There was a point where they stopped using red pen to grade tests.
Right.
Because it made the kids feel bad, like they did something wrong. It's like, well, they did something wrong. They got an F on the test.
Right.
They should feel bad about that because hopefully that's going to push them to do better next time.
Correct.
You know, it's not meant to degrade them and make them suicidal and feel like they're worthless people. It's meant to say, look, I know you can do better than this.
Correct.
So show me you can do better than this. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you can't say that kind of stuff anymore because then they say, "Oh, the kid's going to kill themselves because you're ruining their self-esteem."
Right.
It's like, dude, I mean, it's like kids are so, and again, this started in our generation too, but it's just getting steadily worse where the kids are so sensitive now. Like you can't even have an opinion different than them without them getting suicidal.
Right.
And that's why they say things like your words are violence. Your words are violence. I'm sorry, my words are not violence. My words are not going to physically harm you in any way. This is my opinion. You can decide I'm nuts and my opinion sucks. I'm okay with that. That's your opinion. You keep yours, I'll keep mine, and we go our separate ways. No problem. Now, if my opinion makes me walk over and punch you in the face or pull out a gun and shoot you, then now we have a problem. Right? That's a problem. But just the words themselves are not a problem.
Well, and there's lack. There's and it's on both ways. It's our generation and the new generation. But the biggest thing is the ability to communicate to each other. As soon as you start trying to, say like our age is trying to communicate with one, their first response is high level right away, like off the charts. I'm at full level upset. We can't sit and talk about this at a low level and keep it calm and try to really work through the issue, really dig into things. No, it's either high or low. Like it almost feels like they have a book and they're waiting for you to say that one word that they've been studying in their last 20 years of life.
Right.
As soon as you say that one word, bam, that's it, man.
Right.
They jump right on it.
Yeah. I'm offended. I'm so offended.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just not healthy for anybody.
Right.
In any relationship.
Right.
And it's
I mean, I honestly think the best thing we can teach our kids now is that everybody has an opinion and everybody has a right to have an opinion.
Right.
And that you better make sure your own opinion is steeped in fact and careful research. Right. If you're going to have an opinion, make sure it's the right one. Make sure you do everything in your power to make sure that what you believe is correct.
Yep. And
then stand on it. And then if other people disagree with you, that's okay. That's
You've done your research.
Fine.
You're good. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the thing and that's where I was talking to someone just the other day about how both generations, ours and new, we have not done our research on what we're arguing about. It's very few where you find someone who's done the research on it. And what we do is you take your media blip or your social media thing and you go with it. And then there's all my facts. And it's whatever facts you're leaning towards already. And those are your facts, instead of, being neutral and then figuring out the facts from both sides and then coming up with your own decision in the middle.
Right. You go into it already knowing what you want to be true.
Correct.
So you're only, and we've talked about this, right? It goes the same with studies. They do, well, I'm going to find a study that backs up what I want to believe.
Right.
And I won't even look at the studies that say the other side. It's like, well, that's dumb. That's ridiculous. That's you want the truth is what you're hopefully looking for, whether that's what you already believe or not.
Well, and then I'll hear the comment back from those people that say, well, you can look on the internet and find whatever side you want. Whatever you want, you can find all your info on both sides.
It's true.
It is. It totally is. And then, how do you find the good credited info? How do you know
Well, sometimes you have to do it yourself. You have to actually look into. You can't just read a study that somebody did,
right,
and say, "Oh, this guy's got 2 PhDs and he says this, so I'm just going to believe him."
Right.
No, you can't do that. Sometimes you have to look into it and say,
"It's kind of like the Bible, right?"
Exactly. It's exactly like the Bible.
It is exactly like the Bible.
You can't just listen to what a pastor says,
correct,
and assume that what he says is from the scriptures,
correct,
or that he's correctly understanding it, because a lot of times they're not. So, I mean, you have to look at the study and you have to say, okay, why is he saying that?
Right.
That's the real question. Not what is he saying? Why is he saying it? What evidence does he have to back up the claim?
Right.
Because, like you said, you can go on the internet and you can find anything you want.
Right.
You can find somebody to agree with you about anything.
Right.
But who cares if they have no evidence to support what they're saying, and you have no evidence to support what you're saying, then you're both wrong.
Right.
Most likely, you know,
right.
It's just,
but there's the due diligence is not there.
Right.
For a lot of people, I right away, I think of the young kids,
right.
But I'm like, yeah, but I do some diligence, but I don't do enough.
Right.
I don't do enough to really dig. I go, and a lot of times I'll justify like off of life experiences or, what I've heard. But to be honest, that's really not the proper way either. Like I need to do my research. I need to dig in and really figure out, my thoughts or opinion on things instead of just.
Yeah. I think sometimes though there can be a certain person or a certain teacher or a certain whatever that, let's say you go years and years and you keep checking it out. Oh, he's right. Checking out, he's right. Checking out, he's right.
Right. Like with Paul
eventually.
Washington. Right. Like Paul, right?
Right. Exactly.
Seriously. Like there's a man that I can, without a shadow of doubt, trust a lot of what he says.
Sure.
Because he's shown his proof over and over and over again.
Right.
Of how he's interpreting the Bible.
Right.
And so like, that's one guy, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Ow. So
I think that's a big one. That's a real going on in my life, situation, constantly.
Right. So do you think, this is going to get kind of personal, but I mean, you have one child who went through the public school system, and you have your other two that are being homeschooled. So do you foresee an outcome of the homeschooled ones not being as influenced by the same things, or do you think just because of everything out there, they're going to kind of have some of the same views and be the same way?
I hope it's going to be less, and I'm hoping that I have the opportunity to teach them a little differently. I think there's good and bad in both ways. My oldest has a lot of great qualities and has learned a lot from being in the public school. Like it has shaped her in positive ways that my kids won't go through to some extent. My goal was always I just want to get them to a certain age that they can think for themselves and be mentally upstairs, hopefully able to handle the stuff of the real world, because they're going to experience it whether I like it or not.
Right. But so the critics of homeschooling would say that by homeschooling your kids, you're going to not achieve that goal. You're gonna make them to where they don't know how to handle the real world. They're gonna get out into it, and they're gonna have culture shock, and they're gonna become drug addicts and start sleeping with everybody because you never exposed them to that stuff when they were younger.
I think there's extreme cases where there's families that literally don't let their kids go out and do anything ever or be around people. So I think there's those extreme cases where you hear that stuff. It all starts in the home and how you raise them.
Right.
So I think there's the cases, of course, where those happen, where they just go nuts when they get out, but I'm kind of getting both sides of that scenario. And all I know is I as a parent, I wish my oldest didn't go through the things that she had to go through. Mm-hmm. I wish I had control over that. Did it make her stronger? Did it benefit her in some way? I don't know. That would be something she'd have to answer, but when you stand back as a parent, that's tough for me because you don't ever want to see your kid in pain. Mm-hmm. You don't want to see them ever have to go through difficult times, but they have to. It's still hard to see no matter which way you look at it.
Right.
So,
well, there's homeschool kids that go through that too.
They do.
So that's not necessarily the catalyst.
No, it's not. It's just, it's a little more controlled. They used to say things like, your kids aren't going to have any social skills. That's the big one,
Right. They're
not going to be able to talk to people.
Right.
I don't know how many times I've had people, especially any generation, say, man, your kids are the best kids to talk to. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're not. The one thing school did to me was it made me afraid to talk, especially to other people, because you felt stupid when you would say the wrong thing, where, my kids they've had it a little bit, but it's not drilled into them over and over again, 360 days out of the year, that you have to be super smart to talk to people. You know what I mean? Or, don't say this, don't say that, or people make fun of you. People are still going to do that to them. Okay, right. It's going to happen.
Not like you pop them. People make fun of you, pop them in the face.
Yeah. No, but it's not going to happen to the extent to where it's so much that it breaks you down. You know what I mean? You limit it enough to where they can bounce back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, between having both scenarios, I mean, I loved, there were a lot of good times with my oldest in school.
Yeah.
So, there are things like coming from being raised in school, I do think back, are they going to regret not having, certain things, like sports or clubs, or they still do those things, but not on a greater scale when you're in a school.
Mm-hmm.
There's more of it, I don't know, dances and prom and, all that stuff. I know you still have those things. It's not done the way I'd want it done though. You know what I mean? I think they're still going to experience that stuff because the school we go to has kind of those type of stuff. It's just going to be done in a different way. Right. But I always, go ahead.
I was going to say that they're not the things themselves, like the things that we look back at things like high school and we think, oh, that was fun going to the football games or going to the dances or, some of the classes, we did fun things in the classes, or some of the learning stuff was cool, or having friends. None of that stuff in and of itself is bad. The only reason those things are becoming bad is because of the way the world is and the way it's getting more and more corrupt and things are getting more and more acceptable. And these kids are doing things at earlier ages and you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think there's a purity and there's a goodness to those things. I don't think those things are bad. Right. It's bad for us to put our kids in those situations because of what's now happening at places like that.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And it was true even when we were there. I mean, when we went to high school, I wouldn't want my kids to be living the life I was living when I was in high school.
Oh gosh, no.
I mean, there's no way, and it's way worse now than it was then. So
what's funny is the younger generation, if you try to shelter them from that, they think they're missing out.
Right.
It's all about
they are missing out.
Right. but it's so drastic. It's almost like a checkoff list.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're totally missing out on life because they didn't get to do these things. When I don't know,
and they may never know. Like you could say, well, when they get older, will they think to themselves, "No, I didn't miss out on that." But how will they know if they didn't actually do it?
Correct.
Right. Like there's certain experiences you and I can look back on and say, I could have done without that. Even though at the time I thought there was nothing more important than that I do that.
Right.
Right. But I got to experience it. So I can look back and say, oh, I didn't need to experience that. But if you don't get to experience it, how will you ever know really if it was something you would have found beneficial or not, you know?
Right. No, it's very tough.
Yeah. So what's the solution, Danny? You tell me what how do we fix this, dude? What do we do? What do we do here?
Yeah. You know, it's well, you know, it's an evolving way of parenting because there's always something being thrown in the fire or something changing. So, for me, the go-to is what does the Bible say?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the ultimate rule book for me. And
should that be the go-to for everybody, you think?
Oh, well, yeah. Well,
would you say that that's ultimately the right way, whether or not people choose that or not?
Yes, I would. Yes,
the right way.
Yes. Even, you know, well, like our conversation today, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
but we're going to get there.
Oh, are we? Okay. I won't jump there yet. Then.
Yeah, we're going to get there. You talking about prayer?
Well, I'm talking about just, you know, doors opening in life and everything, you know.
Right.
But I think, you know, and I don't always respond with the Bible in my back pocket.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I should, but I don't. And luckily, you know, I have a better half that will show me that I was wrong and that I shouldn't respond that way. And so, you know,
she uses the Bible to do so.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think ultimately it really is, when it comes to children, it starts in the household. And unfortunately, we had we got lost in the advancement of technology.
Mm-hmm.
And it was exciting and it was awesome, and we couldn't see the repercussions of what was going to happen yet because it never happened before. And we just couldn't see it far enough down the line of what was going to happen. And, you know, now that, and what's sad is, like, I look at it now and I think, how could it get any worse?
Right.
You know what I mean? How could it get any worse? Because like, I feel like it's all there already, but it's not. It's going to get worse.
Oh yeah. If you have an active imagination, you can think of lots of ways it can get worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all a play on, you know, it's all about how much, you know, addiction and how much hurt can we do to people?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about responses and what did I see? I saw a commercial just last night, and it was this guy was talking, and he was talking about, you know, he was basically calling out everything that's going on in society today. And he was just saying, hey, don't let them fool you. You know, don't let them fool you by the advertisements or what they're pushing at you. Or it was really, really interesting. I wanted to write down because it calls out the website at the end, but it was like on a 80s, 90s radio station on YouTube. And the ad popped up, and it was just this guy talking. And he was probably like in his late 20s. And he was just saying, like, don't let them win. Like, don't let all these things that are being pushed at you make you who you are. And that's what the book of Romans says, is do not be conformed to this world. Right. But be transformed through the renewing of your mind, right? We're supposed to be continually becoming more like the Lord and less like the world. Less likely of the world. Yeah, but that agenda, like you're talking about, is pushing the opposite of that. Right. It's trying to make everybody more worldly and less godly. Correct. Just with, gosh, social media it's awesome on so many levels. But at the same time, if your kids aren't, it doesn't matter, because it's just destructive at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's great, but it's so easily misused, and they have no idea what's coming. You know what I mean? Like, they're not equipped with the right tools to see what's coming. And I've heard older people, like in their 80s, tell me that. They'll tell me, like, kind of like, I think back of, when Elvis started doing rock, you know what I mean? Everybody, and then they were all against it, and, what are you doing? And the dancing and the crazy singing and all that. And that was just like, way out there, man. Like, right. And so it's the same thing that's happening to us. And we're just, they're just not, but it's happening at a super fast pace. Right. Well, that just shows you, though, right? That shows you how much we've changed as a society, because like you said, when Elvis would do the hip thrust when he was dancing. Yes. That was like, you can't put that on TV. Or Michael Jackson, right? Yeah. It was just like, what are you doing? Or that line in Gone with the Wind, where Clark Gable's character says, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a D, Oh, that's right. And the whole world like lost its mind. They're like, oh my gosh, did you hear what he just said in the movie? Right. Oh man. And now you go down and watch a rated R movie and you got, 5,000 F words in there, or whatever. Right. It's just our standards have gotten so low. But and then I'm like with you, like, how can it get any worse? But you think, what's it going to be like for our kids and their kids? What kind of is this going to be? Is it like, is pornography just going to be totally acceptable? And and are all drugs going to be legal? I mean, right. Right. The marijuana thing really just it makes me I think to myself, what about the last 40 years of people that are in jail because of marijuana? What about those people? You know what I mean? Like, they're like, dang it. Right? How terrible is that, right? You pass a law, finally it's legal, everybody's smoking it, and then and you've been in jail for 40 years of your life. Yeah. Right. Are they going back and are they taking all these people out of jail? Probably. You're free. Yeah. Pot's legal now. Get out of jail. Go home and grow it yourself. You're good to go. Right. Exactly. Oh man. Yeah. So it's just, it's just technology and stuff is, like I said, is awesome, but it's got a downside too. It does. I guess just like everything does. Yeah. Except ice cream. There's no downside to ice cream. No downside to ice cream. It's just, we have to be able to equip our children better. We have to prepare them for stuff better. How do we do that? Communication, being vulnerable, showing them when we fail. Show them that you fail. Show them where you get your answers at after you fail. Talk to them. Let them know what's going through your mind, or you're having a hard time. If you're sad, don't be afraid to cry in front of them. Let them know that emotion is okay. Unless you're a guy, then it's not okay to cry. Shoot, hands down, dude. No way. Okay to cry, dude. If you're a guy, you cry all you want, dude. I don't care. No, you can't do it, dude. No. Jesus said not to. Yeah, right. Where's that in the Bible? In Second Opinions. Yeah. You know what I mean? But seriously, like that's what's, don't show them how a marriage is supposed to work with communication. Don't be the type where like I've heard tons of families like, I never heard them fighting before, but they're divorced. You know what I mean? Or, like.
Yeah, I don't trust people like that tell me that they never fought. A marriage couple that they're like, oh, we've never fought. I said, well, then you don't really love each other then.
Right. Right. They need to see, as God's people, they need to see the fruit from you. And that's the only, their kids are like, they're going to learn off of what they see.
Right. They learn.
And they do it so well. Right. Lead by example.
Yep.
And so that's huge. That's just huge. And I know I've struggled with that a ton. And over the years I've gotten better at it. But it's like a force you're fighting against when you're admitting you're wrong. Like if I get an argument with Danielle in the car and we're going down the road and it's in front of the kids, like, I'll be sitting there and like, I'm thinking to myself, like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, just fess up and say you're sorry and get it over with. Like, you're wrong and you're being a butt and you just need to get over it, right? But it'll take me like 15 minutes when I should have just done it right after it was said.
Right.
So, but still.
Do you find that your wife is quicker to admit when she's wrong than you are? Or is your wife never wrong? You can just say she's never wrong if you want to stay out of trouble.
No, there is times when she's wrong. She'll admit to it. Mm-hmm. Like she's pretty good about it. I would say I'm probably hard. If it's something I really like, feel I'm right at, mm-hmm. I would say I'm harder. It takes me a little bit longer. Yeah. I don't normally go days about it without. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've never been wrong, so I don't even know like how to address what you're talking about.
Right. You can't fathom what I'm talking about. Okay.
But speaking of lying, we're going to move on to the spiritual aspect.
Okay.
So I definitely want to get into the conversation that we were talking about earlier. But first, why don't you just kind of give me a little rundown? I mean, it doesn't have to be a 3-hour story, but just basically, how did you come to be a Christian? You didn't grow up in the church. Our family wasn't religious, really.
No. Yeah. So we church hopped, mom would church hop, and we, as soon as someone looked at her wrong, we'd go to another church. So that's, I was a 3 wise men at one point in a brown sack.
Oh, there you go, man. That's proof of salvation right there.
Right.
Man.
As soon as the offering plate came around and my mom got a dirty look, it was all over.
Yeah.
So, so we did that, for a while. I don't ever think I thought one even knew God, or even, I don't even think I was listening. I don't even know what was going on half the time.
But you were never an atheist, right? You always believed in some kind of creator.
I don't even know if I had thoughts of belief really early on. Mm-hmm. I don't remember ever thinking to myself, who's God? Or where'd we come from? Or never. I never had those thoughts, ever. Mm-hmm. I don't even think I've ever had a conversation with anybody at a young age.
Yeah. Even going to church with your mom, you never thought about it?
No, not that I don't know. Maybe I asked her questions. I don't know. I don't have any memory of it though. Mm-hmm. So, my mid 20s, I was, I went through some pretty hard time. I was going through a divorce and having a baby at the same time. And
you weren't having a baby.
I was not having a baby.
Yeah, because that would have been some really tough times.
Well, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And so,
I derailed you.
No, I'm trying to, think of the story.
So you're going through a divorce. You're
going through some hard times, and I think I was pretty close to a nervous breakdown. Mm-hmm. I was hitting bottom pretty hard, Not too many people know that.
Yeah. Well, now everybody's going to know it.
Now everybody's going to know it. So I think I was looking for answers.
Okay.
At a point, and I had got introduced to somebody that was faith-based and had a good backing of it. And I had heard stories of what they had gone through. And I think at that point, it was interesting to me. And like I said, I was pretty low and I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know what I was doing. Was everything I was against, but I couldn't help what I was feeling. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I started going to church, and
just any church. You just looked
just
up in the phone book and found one.
Like I said, I opened up the phone book and I picked one and I went to it, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. Mm-hmm. And then I went, and that's, I felt like the sermon was exactly for me. It was exactly what I was going through and the answers that I needed. And I was like, hey, can I get a copy of this? After I wanted a tape of it. I don't know if I ever got it, which I wish I would have, because now
it'd be cool to listen to now.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so I went, I started going, and I don't know if I was really being drawn into it yet, but something was turning a little bit. I don't know if I needed a new avenue, or, I needed someone to tell me, that, I don't know, I was just lost. I was completely lost. And so I started going and stepping out of my comfort zone, because it was all new to me. And this was probably months down the line. It was, I don't know, maybe the whole thing was probably a year and a half.
From nervous breakdown to salvation?
To salvation, yeah. And, I don't know. It was a one night in Denny's. You know what I mean?
By yourself?
No, I was with my wife now.
Oh, okay.
And
Denny's of all places.
Yeah, it may not be Denny's. Actually, it might have been Pappy's.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Yeah, let's step it up a little bit.
I'll say Denny's, you can't get saved in Denny's. I don't think it's possible.
Right. But I prayed the prayer, and asked God to be part of my life, and
with her.
Yeah. So I did it with her.
I don't even know this part of the story.
And so, so I did that. And, now knowing what I know now, I'm like, okay, I don't, where was I with that? You know what I mean? Was I really doing it at that moment? Was it really happening? But that's the first time I was, and I genuinely think I was really wanting it. Mm-hmm. I was really believing at that point. And so, so after that, it was kind of full gear after that. I mean, I started going to church regularly. And, there was growth early on, little bits here and there. There were changes, little bits here and there, but, I think I've told you this before. My real growth didn't start until your studies. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's, and my wife will account for the same thing. Like, those studies you used to put on were the most growth we've ever had. And she's been a church person her entire life. Mm-hmm. and she'll tell you that herself. So, but the good thing is what those studies did, because there was a lot of years after the studies stopped where I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm not getting anything out of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was really frustrating that it had all stopped. But what it did do is it taught you how to do it yourself and how to see things differently. So that it gave you a totally different outlook about the Christian faith, of how it's supposed to look like.
Right. I would say that's the difference between churchianity and Christianity.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
Like when you start to realize how the Bible paints a different picture than
Correct.
What's happening in a lot of churches today.
Correct.
Which is unfortunate, but it's true.
Right.
So
I think the issue with that is a lot of these churches, their main goal is, hey, let's just get them in and then we'll work on them after that. Right. But the problem is they're constantly trying to get them in and they never do the work.
Right.
They never.
Somebody used an analogy one time. They said your focus is all on outreach and bringing people in.
Right.
That you have all these Christians that are in your building that are starving to death because they're not getting any feeding. They're not growing. They're not learning. They're because all your efforts is put to fill your pews.
Right.
And I'm not saying there should never be any outreach and there shouldn't be that. But I mean, the whole point of the church is to build up the body. Right. Like you're supposed to be teaching the flock and helping them grow in the Lord and in the word,
Right. And so that's been, there were a few years where I felt like I went backwards. Quite a few years, I think.
Backslider.
Yeah.
That's when you were addicted to heroin and you had all those prostitutes and stuff.
All the porn. It was terrible, Ryan. But it was so it's been it's neat to see the transformation between the old and the new. And that's what I was going to talk about. So how I just finished this 8-week class for.
Oh, is it over?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we finished. I know. Well, actually, I feel the same way. Actually, so you made a comment to me. You'd be always surprising. You'll probably like this. You told me you should do this. And I'm thinking to myself, why do I need to do this?
Right.
Like, why do I need to be here? Like, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a druggie.
Yeah.
Right. And in all accents, in all fairness, I'm thinking, okay, I'm okay. I'm pretty good. Right. But
that's why I wanted you to go.
I know.
Because I was hoping you would find out.
Wanted me to find my bad stuff and bring it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and it did. What was interesting, and I do. So there's been a bunch of beautiful things from this process.
Yeah.
So for one, if you're in church, you need to get to know the people that are in your church. You can't just go on Sunday and wave and say hi. Like,
you can, but that's not the church.
No, right. But everybody in church is there because they're hurting and they're messed up.
Right.
These people need help.
Right.
And so, so these groups that actually, I guess we're going to continue on with the church on like a lot. It's going to be part of our church. Is beneficial.
The Celebrate Recovery, right?
Yeah, Celebrate Recovery. So what's going to happen is what happened was I got to know these people in a way that I would have never have known them.
Of course.
And
because you don't talk about that stuff in the church.
You don't talk about that stuff.
Right.
And the beauty of it is I got to actually see the growth in these people in just 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I got to see people struggling with the same things as me.
Right.
And things that have worked for them or where we go biblically with those, or like just an array of stuff. And actually, I'll be honest. In the first, there's people in there that I in a sense idled. Okay, and when I found out, when I found out stuff, I was destroyed, absolutely destroyed.
Yep.
And I didn't think I was. I went home the first 3 weeks going, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know what to do. I can't talk to anybody about it because it's all confidential, and I'm freaking out.
Right.
So
there's real quick. There's a song by Alec Benjamin. Another guy I really like. It's called "The Death of a Hero." Have you heard that song? Yeah.
You
and that's what it's all about. He's like, I saw Superman in the bath doing lines or something in the bathroom, and it's like it's like that moment we all get to where we have these people we idolize and we look up to them,
right?
And then we realize they're just as messed up as I am,
right? And that's probably the first time. And what's nice is they separate men and women,
right?
So I'm in a class all of men.
Right.
Who are the worst at opening up about feelings. Men, hands down, are the worst. And so it brought it out in people, and I got to see the change. And luckily, which was nice in our group, we had two older generation people there that there's no doubt in my mind they're not ready for God. They're not ready. They are ready. And they are there. And to hear their knowledge to things was amazing. It was awesome to hear somebody who's learned something and has an answer for it.
Right.
And so, anyways, I don't even know how I got on that. What did I go?
No, because you're just talking about how you were telling me that you had found some of your own issues through that, which you're right. That is part, because not that I'm sitting here saying, oh, I want you to dwell on all your sins and I want you, right. But it's when coming to that realization is a big step. Right. I think that we all need to come to, because, you don't want to be in a room with guys like that when they're spilling their guts and be like, man, at least, because then you're like that guy in the Bible when the two people are praying and the one guy's praying and he's like, Lord, thank you so much that I'm not like this sinner over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like his whole prayer is about how awesome he is and how wretched the sinner, and the sinner's over here on his face before the Lord going, Lord, forgive me. I'm such a horrible, wretched person. Right. In reality, that's all of us. Right. Whether we admit it or not, so sometimes we need to be reminded, we need to come to that realization, I mean, all of our vices, all of our sins may be different. Like we're all struggling with different things, but everybody's got something,
Well, yeah, and that's, the good thing, what you do with pain is you tuck it away and forget about it. Mm-hmm. And, there were things that I was being forced to bring up that, I thought to myself, well, maybe I do have an issue there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not resolved. Maybe,
yeah.
And so it was really good. And we had a great group.
I went the one time and I really liked all those guys from the first night. And I was like, I wish I didn't live.
I know.
3,000 miles away.
I know.
I'd like to go, but
you would have really enjoyed the entire thing.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm getting at is like, those are things that I think church needs to do more often. I know, our pastor has always tried about, we have small groups. Mm-hmm. Those are beneficial too.
Oh, so those are the best. Those are the best to me. Yeah.
They are. We get deep with them, and people are able to talk their feelings, and everybody can kind of give their biblical background, answer to things, or pray for them. Mm-hmm. For me, the thing I took out of one of my big action items was with my issues with like anxiety and I have to be in the Word more. I have to, when those thoughts enter my brain about anything that's out there, I have to immediately turn to God And because what it is it's the devil taking my focus away from him.
Sure.
And it's so true. And so I have turned it to him. It's not necessarily gone, but the anxiety part is way low.
Mm-hmm.
So I see the change. So it definitely is different. But the thoughts are still there. I still may talk about them, but I'm not having the physical response with the anxiety. And so that's my growth in the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really nice to talk to another gentleman that was having anxiety issues as well, and to see the things that, that he had gone through, and, like all the same things, it affects the family a whole bunch. That's one of the worst regrets of how it affects the family, and stuff. But, anyways, so, the church that I think it's a really good movement. I think small groups are really good. I don't know how successful. I've never seen yet, but I only can point out 2 churches, but I've never seen a large church be successful with big numbers. But maybe they are. Maybe they do it right. I don't know. But I find it easier with a smaller church of like 200 people.
Well, my stance that I feel like I don't feel like there's that many people that want the truth. So if I hear of a church that's got thousands and thousands of people, I think they must not be preaching the truth there.
Oh,
because as soon as they started doing that, everybody be leaving, and of course that's not true straight across the board.
Right.
But, sometimes it seems to be.
I think the bigger churches they've got the school programs, they've got the classes, they've got, they've got the programs,
mm-hmm.
they've got the restaurants and the diner bars and the coffee bars those things are good. They can be used for good stuff. Like when we have we'll have like a chicken dinner night, and
mm-hmm.
everybody will show up, like those are good moments. There's a lot of talking in those, a lot of healthy stuff, growth, a lot of communication. But it's still superficial a lot of the times. It's never the deep stuff because we're all there because we need help. We don't need to have a meal with somebody and smile and talk about the good times. Like we want the bad stuff. We want to open up and say, gosh, this is what I'm having a problem with.
Right. And that's something kind of foreign to you, right? Because you've always been the sunshine guy. Right. You've always been like, well, let's not talk about the bad stuff. I don't want to watch any sad movies.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about sad stuff. Let's just put a sunshine and roses on everything and pretend like everything's good.
Right.
And you and I have gone back and forth about that in the past because I'm not saying you should be like Eeyore and walking around like the world sucks all the time. But I mean, we have to face these sadnesses and these angers and these issues, and until we start doing that, it's not going to do anything.
Well, what's funny you say that, right? So at the end of our little 8-week class, one of the members was kind of pointing out his appreciation for everybody that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went around the room kind of talking. And when he got to me, I bring a light to the church.
There you go, man.
So,
there you go.
Well, no, but it just goes to tell you that like, I am the happy-go-lucky guy.
Right.
That everybody sees, right?
Yes.
So, but
on the outside, but inside, you're hurting, aren't you, Danny? you have deep sadness. You need to confess. You need to come out of your bubble.
I'm pretty open these days. It took me a while. It took me, it was a growth in process, but
mm-hmm.
I'm pretty good at sharing my feelings now. I don't like confrontation.
Right.
So when there's a situation going wrong, I'm a fixer. So we don't want to go there. And that's because of what I grew up in. That's because of our parents. That's because of, any type of confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes
and that's what I mean,
uncomfortable.
and that's what I mean. I don't think anybody really likes confrontation. Well, that's not true. I'm sure some people do like confrontation.
Right.
But I mean,
I feel like the newer generation, I feel like does.
Yeah. Well, yes and no, right? Because
Right,
we were just talking about when they get into one with somebody that disagrees with them, what do? They go into their little corner and they cry.
Right.
And they need to take 2 weeks off work because they're depressed. So, I mean, it's like they might like to get into controversy, but they can't handle it.
Right.
They can't handle even opinions that are different than theirs.
Right.
They just lose it,
Right.
So, all right, man. So let's bring it home here with the conversation
we're getting
earlier
close already?
today. Oh yeah, dude. Told you.
Wow, that surprisingly went a lot faster than
I told you, dude.
than I thought
Everybody
it was
says
going to
that.
go.
Everybody says that. What, 3
Wow.
hours? What are we going to talk about for 3 hours? And then you get there and you're like, oh crap, I got another hour's worth of stuff I want to say.
Right. So let's talk
earlier,
about the.
Yeah. So let's just bring it back. So I had a job interview today.
Yes. Yep.
And I mentioned it to you, and you had said, I'm trying to find your exact. What'd you say here? Hopefully God has this door for you.
Yes.
So I took that to mean, and maybe wrongly, to mean hopefully it's God's plan that you get the job. Is that kind of what you meant?
Yes, I think I said it later. I said, I said, hopefully God has his door for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said,
and then you said that was you being positive.
Right.
And my whole point was, well, why is that positive? Because if God doesn't want me to get the job, that's positive for him.
Right.
Because he knows what's best for me. Right. So
right. So that's why I said whatever God's will is, of course I'm going to wish that whatever lesson or whatever walk that you're going to have with him is going to be in a positive way. Either way, though, negative has a good outcome and positive does. So I'm not going to respond well, I hope you don't get it because then God will be teaching you a lesson because you don't need it.
But see, the point I'm making is when you're using the terms positive and negative,
mm-hmm.
You're assuming the positive is me getting the job and the negative is me not getting the job. Do you see what I'm saying? So that would be positive from my own human perspective, because obviously I want the job or I wouldn't be applying for it.
Right. But my first, right. But we don't know if that's what God wants you to do or not. Right.
We don't.
Right. But I guess my first comment was, hopefully this is the door God will have you walk through, and it will be a blessing in your life. Is where I was going with that.
Sure, but what I'm saying, the point I'm making is that we're assuming that would be the blessing, is me getting the job, where it could be just as likely as me not getting the job is the blessing, even though from a human standpoint, I'm going to be disappointed. Oh crap, I really wanted that job. But God's thinking, no, Ryan, that's not good for you. I know what's best for you. So it's positive that I don't get the job.
Correct. No, right. Correct. Basically,
so should we hope for? So
so what you're saying is, should we walk into something wanting something, basically, right? Or should we just say, "Well, I'm here, and it's God's. If it's God's will, then whatever will happen."
I think that the way we should approach it is that we can ask God anything we want. I can say, "Hey, God, can I have a new Ferrari tomorrow?"
Right.
I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with asking that.
No, of course not.
But I also just like Jesus said when he was in the garden, he said, Lord, if there's any other way to save them, then take this cup from me now. In other words, if there's another way that I can save humanity without having to do what I'm about to do.
Correct. Right.
But then after that, he said, but not my will, but yours be done.
Gosh, what a powerful line, right?
Do you see what I'm saying?
That is
so.
Right.
So it's just what's interesting to me is a couple days ago, I had a conversation with a friend of mine on the phone who's having a lot of health issues, and he doesn't think he has much longer, is basically what he's telling me.
Okay.
But his question to me was his struggle is this, and this is the contrast, which I find interesting. His struggle is he feels wrong praying for God to heal him, because he's like, what if it's God's will for me to die? Then if I'm praying for healing, I'm praying against God's will. So he's struggling with this. So then I'm talking to you. Right. And this is the day where we said something else, and it was, you had asked for prayer for what's happening with Jocelyn.
Yeah.
And I had said, what specifically do you want me to pray for? And you said for complete healing, and that her liver or her results would come back that her liver is working well. Right. So I just thought to myself, and that was literally like the day after I had a conversation with my friend.
Right.
So it's just so interesting how there's this contrast between one person struggling with, should I even be praying against God's will?
Right.
But then at the same time, when we're going through tough times or we have loved ones, of course, it's our natural inclination. Please heal them. Please, please, please. Or even me. Please heal me. Get me out of this. That would be most of our...
Ryan, I think God's whole design is for us to pray to him.
Sure.
It's always to look at him in any situation. And you can ask whatever you want. And in the end, it'll be his decision.
Yes, but we're also biblically supposed to... It's like the purpose of prayer is to align ourselves with God's will. So do you see what my friend's saying as far as if you're right what you just said a minute ago, we don't know God's will in these situations. We don't know if his will is for us to be healed or for us to die. It could be either one.
Right.
But if we don't know that and we're praying for healing, and let's say in that case, the will is that this person's not going to make it. They're not going to be healed.
Right.
Then by us praying for healing, are we praying against God's will? And if so, is that wrong? Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, but that's the thing is you can't pray against God's will if you don't know what his will is.
Right. So why do we err on that side? Why don't we err on the other side? Why don't we pray, Lord, if it's your will,
for him to take us?
Take my life. Yeah, or whatever. We always go the quote unquote positive, right? What we view as positive, even though it might not be as positive to us. So that's what I'm saying. Like for me, I think from what I've learned from scripture is that, again, I can pray for healing and I will pray for healing. I did. I prayed exactly that for Jocelyn. I prayed that the Lord would bring healing to her. But I think we also have to follow it up with, like Jesus did, but not my will, but your be done. Whatever your will is, I need to trust you in that. But this is my request. This is my petition to you. Right. But I also understand what my friend's saying with him feeling like maybe he's doing wrong by potentially praying against the will of God.
Don't you think, like, isn't God ultimately going to want you to be talking to him in your darkest hour?
Yes, but my point is we should be doing so in a way of even saying, in my darkest hour, Lord, I feel like I'm going to die.
Right.
I'm so excited to come home. Take me home. But we don't usually pray that way unless we're like in agony. Like I've heard of people that are at the end of their rope and they're in such pain and suffering that they're like, all right, Lord, just get me out of here because I'm done.
Yeah.
But even in those cases, sometimes the Lord says, no, you're going to live another 30 years.
Right.
Whether you want to or not. I have plans for you.
That's true. I mean, you if you were to selfishly not think that way, because anything that you pray of this world is for you. So, it basically is like if anything to do with my kids, my
even
family,
if you're praying for others, exactly.
So I mean, ultimately, like you want to go to heaven, like that's where you want to go. So why don't we pray that? Why don't we say, hey, okay, well, doesn't look like my liver's going to work out. I'll see you in a few hours. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's do it. Or
just be like, Lord, if it's your will to heal me, great. If it's not, like Paul, like that verse I always quote what Paul said. And I think to myself, if I could just learn to live this way, I would be that. To me, that's the ultimate goal, is to live with the motto that Paul had of to live as Christ and to die as gain.
Right.
If the Lord leaves me alive one more day, great. My life is going to glorify him. I'm going to spend all my days glorifying him. But if he takes me home tomorrow, praise God.
Right.
The die is gained, because now I've gained eternity. Now I'm free of all the flesh. I'm free of all this garbage, and I'm living forever. Right. But we just don't view it that way all the time.
No,
we view it as death bad, suffering bad.
Right.
And healing good, getting a new job good, all these things good, not getting the job bad. It's just like, and that's just our natural way to view things. And I just think that's wrong. I think that's a wrong way to view things.
It totally is. It totally is. And it's just, it's an very hard thing to overcome.
Yes.
That feeling of wanting your loved ones to be okay, and you yourself to be okay, and to cherish this precious time on this planet as we do.
Right.
Which, as I get older, I think of, I don't know. I keep saying to myself, when the times comes, if I make it to a ripe old age, that
you're already there.
Yeah, you're funny. That I'll just be ready to go. Like, I'll be like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I got to get out of here. I don't know if I ever get there, but it'll.
I doubt it, man. Not Mr. Sunshine.
I don't know. As people die, that's where my thoughts change. So it gets harder for me.
What do you mean?
As loved ones leave, it doesn't. It's just a reality check all the time. And
that your time is coming soon. You mean?
No, not that necessarily my time is, but to go through the pain of loss. But you know what? The good thing is the loss that I went through, you do heal from it. It still hurts, but you do heal from it. And that's something I had never experienced before. Yeah. We've been lucky that our family's been done really well. So, but it definitely is. It's a real test. It's a big deal. It's very, but see, that was the beauty of it though. See, I saw God after the fact through the whole thing, and it leached back into as far as I could remember. So I wouldn't have seen God's work or God's plan for her life unless that happened.
Right.
I wouldn't have seen any of it before.
Are we talking about your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to put any of the dots together if that tragic moment hadn't happened. Right. I would have never seen the light behind it.
Sure.
So that's pretty amazing to me. I think that's what got me through everything that happened.
Right.
So,
well, that's the only way that growth is ever going to take place. Right? Like if everything's going great all the time and we don't experience sadness.
We don't need him.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And that's
it's like these things you can't learn from a textbook. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to learn how to do that. No, you have to experience something in order for you to have learned something from that experience. Correct. You can't just read a book. I like for me, like my mom's still alive. Right. I don't know what that's like yet.
Right.
So I can listen to you tell me what you went through. And obviously being my aunt, I went through my own grief, but I mean, it's your mom.
Right.
So, I mean, for me to listen to you talk about it, I can understand in a sense your experience.
Right.
But I can't really understand your experience.
And that was the big opener for me. Like, once you lose somebody that you really love, you understand everybody's pain almost instantly.
Right.
You understand someone who lost their husband or their wife or their kid. Like you understand that, you connect right away now. And that's actually been a really good thing. Because I felt like I was kind of insensitive before. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they lost their kid, that's all it meant. It was just words. But now when I hear someone who lost their kid at 13 years old, it hits me so much deeper.
Right.
Like it just really sinks in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's growth, I feel.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's empathy.
It's empathy for sure.
Yeah.
So
cool, man.
Yeah. So anyways.
See, I told you that go by fast. That's it.
It went by really fast. Yeah.
Yeah. It flies, dude. It's like, and like, right. We could probably sit here for another 3 hours and talk even more, really, if we wouldn't fall asleep because we're old, but I mean, it is about my bedtime. So,
Yeah. For you, it is. See, I'm good for another 4 hours, dude. So, You're not smoking the right stuff, dude.
Well, yeah, I guess not, dude. But I mean, summertime, I stay up a little later. It's the winter months that when it gets dark.
It's still light outside.
I know. Yeah, exactly. It's probably lighter there than it is here, I'm sure.
It is a little bit. Yeah, we're a little bit lighter right now. So, well, hey, this is cool. I don't think I said anything that
Nothing
I wouldn't
you want
tell
removed?
somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm okay. I didn't talk too much crap about anybody.
Yeah, we're putting it all out there, dude. You better get ready for the firestorm.
Yeah. I figured, one of my thoughts about doing this is I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it because this is going to be around forever.
Right.
And when I'm gone, then like people can like listen to this later and kind of laugh. It's like a long video,
Right. Right. It's captured in time.
And
that's what's cool about it. It's always going to be there.
Right. And that's what I thought was such a good idea by what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I think it's fun.
Well,
I have a blast, man. If it's for anything, I mean, if it's for nothing else, it's that I'm having a good time, and all that matters is me.
But even for your kids, like after you go on, they can sit back and like go over Dad's podcasts. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Think about it. I don't have like podcasts of my mom. Right. I don't have like anything that I could listen to except a couple phone calls on my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
dude, how cool would it have been to have your mom on here, dude?
Oh gosh, right?
Dude, and she totally would have done it too, I bet.
She would have.
Yeah. She might have been. I bet she would have asked me to take out things though at the end because she'd be worried about certain people knowing what she thinks. But that would have been. She
probably would have got a little paranoid there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because me and your mom used to have all kinds of conversations about everything.
Right.
So she was fun to talk to. But
totally.
Yeah. So all right, man. Well, hey, you have a great night.
I will. I get to go eat now.
Oh, there you go. You go eat, and I'm gonna go to bed.
Okay. All right, old man.
All right, dude. We'll talk
later.
All right,
buddy. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. And if you haven't yet, please join the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast Facebook group. Please leave a review wherever you are listening to this from. This will help more people find the podcast. Thanks. Here's a clip from the next episode.
Believe or don't believe, there's still a respect value there.
Right.
But I mean, I often wonder, like, how is God protecting those children that all those priests raped?
Right.
For real.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be his servants. The direct connection.
Right.
Well,
supposed to be is a beautiful phrase.
But yeah, you're right. Because obviously at that point that they're not.
Right.
But at the same time, he still lets that happen. And I you know what? I don't condone it, and it would be very controversial to say that people deserve it when they don't. But an adult being mistreated in that way is much, much different to me than a child.
Oh, I'd agree. They're both bad.
Oh, absolutely.
But one's worse than the other. Yeah,
100%.
Right.
And I can't even think about living with that trauma.
Sure.
I really can't. I can't even. There's not even a part of me that can even fathom that.
No.
But to do that to a child,
right?
How does one Almighty let that happen to the most innocent of innocents?
Right.
It's not like they have corrupted the world or they've done something to deserve it, or it's an eye for an eye.
Right.
Really?
Right.
How is that a thing, man? it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It really does. Like, the children should not be ever subjected to that.